Would you like to call your meeting to order,
Bonnie,
Madam Mayor?
can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Can they not hear me? Can you give me a thumbs up if you can hear me, Bonnie?
Yes.
Perfect.
Can you hear
Okay,
me?
I finally hear you.
Thank
Perfect.
you.
All right. Good morning. I think we do have a quorum.
You do,
Perfect.
Madam Mayor. We can call your meeting to order.
Okay, this is Wednesday, May 12th, Reno City Council meeting. We are going to start with item A1. I'm going to send it over to Councilwoman Breckus to lead us in the pledge.
Okay, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Great job. Okay, Madam Clerk, sending it over to item A2 to call the roll.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Roll call for the Wednesday, May 12th Reno City Council meeting. Breckus,
Here.
Dewar,
Here.
Delgado,
Here.
Weber,
Here.
Jardin,
Here.
Reese,
Here.
Cheevy.
Here.
Madam Mayor, you do have a quorum of the Reno City Council.
Okay, perfect. Okay, Madam Clerk, I'm going to take us into item A3, public comment.
Yes, Madam Mayor. Item A3 is reserved for general public comment received in our office before 4 p.m. the business day preceding the meeting. Public comment in this item is for items that are not specific to our agenda. These have been submitted to council and are part of the record. We received general public comment from Aaron Martini, Donna Keats, and John Duran. Additionally, we do have 3 voicemails that we will listen to now.
Okay.
Good morning. My name is Bill Stewart for the record. I just wanted to introduce myself and also let you know the company that I'm working with, Wilderness Forestry, is in the business of helping prepare homeowners and communities for fire through defensible space and fuels reduction. I wanted to put our name and number out on the agenda and also talk about the possibility of doing a presentation sometime in the future when we meet in person. My phone number is 775-815-0743. The name of the company is Wilderness Forestry, and I've spoken with Chief Cochran and Fire Marshal Trey Palmer about their green waste program, and also wanted to be included in that where we can help out so far as green waste and getting citizens aware and educated on the dangers of wildfire. Thank you for your time. I appreciate all you do for the city. God bless.
This is Catherine Andriotta. I live on the 3rd floor of Lakeside Plaza condominiums, facing south. Across Brinkby Avenue is Anderson School. I've lived here for 24 years, and the past many years, I tried to get into City Council last year, could not because of COVID. And my complaint is noise. Absolute disgusting noise. We're talking about motorcycles. We're talking about those brand new little cars with those loud pipes. We're talking about trucks with loud pipes. We're talking about any car with loud pipes going up and down Brinkby Avenue. It's like living in a stockyard with stock cars, and it isn't okay. And I've petitioned to have speed bumps put on Brinkby. They're not functional, but they've been there. I've petitioned to have RTC's buses taken off Brinkby and only have 5 more signatures, and they know it, so they put the eco buses here that are very quiet. I don't mind that at all. But the bottom line is, I've called Reno PD over the past 3 years. I've said, get an audio monitor on some pole around here and listen to what we have to listen to. It isn't okay. We never voted for a noise ordinance not to be in effect. We never did. When we were teenagers here, we would be pulled over, and we couldn't drive our cars until our mufflers were fixed, and that was when I was, 17, 60 years ago. So the bottom line is, we need to enforce and enforce the loud pipes in this neighborhood now that it's become so dense with population. I want this put on the agenda. I want it discussed, and I want to know who, if anyone, in the Reno City Council decided that noise was fine. I want to know who that person was, because I've been emailing Reno Direct all these years, and nothing has come of it. The Reno Police Department say, oh, noise is fine. No, it isn't. And I want it brought up on the agenda at next meeting. I want to be in. I want all the evidence that you guys say you have that we didn't vote on noise ordinances, because we didn't. And it should have been in effect even.
For the record, my name is Donna Keats. I'm posing a rhetorical question that struck me when I read it. I've paraphrased it for you to think about. The question is there a point beyond which a governing body's insulation from the will of the people becomes unjust? Maybe there is. I'm allowed to submit written comments that most of you will not read. I'm invited to leave voice messages that may be played but not listened to. You can't see my face or read my expression. I can't speak directly to you. I can't put exhibits on screen to simplify or clarify my points. I cannot be heard. I can't see your faces while voice messages are played. I don't know if you're even listening. Maybe you're sending emails, or maybe you left chambers. How would I know? The camera should be on council when public comments are played. Then you'd actually have to pay attention. The city clerk acknowledges receipt of my written comments. Beyond that, I don't know. I do know that my written comments to the PC don't appear in the publicly available agenda packets for subsequent council hearings. Consequently, I assume you don't have a record of my previous comments about your agenda items. I feel a need to rewrite them and submit them to council. I also feel certain that I'm wasting my time. From the public perspective, this doesn't seem like a meaningful exchange. In the absence of public involvement, you sit as grand masters, playing chess with pieces of the city's future and residents' daily lives. It's incumbent on you as public representatives to change this by enabling better communication with a broader range of your constituents. It's time to bring the public back into the public participation process. It's time for you to listen and be accountable to the citizens you represent. It would help reignite public dialogue if council members did not disregard statements from participating community members because they are generally older, that's a quote, older, better educated, and homeowners. It would also be helpful if council members refrain from implying that all such public participants are NIMBYs, elitist, and by implication, racist. Participants in the public process should not feel a need to either excuse or justify themselves in order to be heard. Most public participants don't live in exclusionary neighborhoods that are protected from the consequences of your decisions, as many of you do. If you could listen instead of proclaiming or assuming, you might be able to understand that public participants are not uniformly asking you to stop building. They're generally asking you to build better, and they're asking you to pay attention to them too. I hope you heard this. Thank you. Donna Keats.
Okay. Madam Clerk, is that it?
Madam Mayor, that is the end of our public comment.
Madam
Okay.
Mayor,
Go right ahead.
I just wanted to say on Speaker 2, who spoke about Brinkby, this is the first time I've heard about these issues, and I have not met her. I know she asked for the item to be placed on the agenda, but what I'd like to do is get with our staff, offline and just, research what's been done there so far as the next step. So I just wanted to mention that.
Okay, thank you. And then, and I would just address, if our cameras are off, sometimes, especially in my case, for some reason, my computer gets depleted whenever I have the camera on. So I try to preserve it whenever I can. And also speaking probably for the entire council, because I do work with you, even though we might have a difference of opinion on whether it's different projects or different ideas or certain things that are happening around the city. I know that each of them are very accessible, very engaged, and are always listening. So some of those comments I think were a little off base, and I'm always happy to speak with Donna at any time. She knows that. So I will reach out to her And I apologize if she feels that way, but I want to say thank you to the council because I know you guys are always engaged and have an open door. Okay, moving on. Madam Clerk, let's head on to, before we do approval of the agenda, do you want to go to Manager Doug Thornley?
I do, Madam Mayor. I believe the manager has a few changes.
Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Doug Thornley, City Manager here in Reno for the record. I'd like to pull item E1, Echo 1, as needing some more time, some more review. And then not pull, but when we get to item C4, I want to flag for all of you on Charlie 4 that I would request that that item be continued until May 26th. So we'd need to open the hearing and then make a motion to continue. That's all I've got.
Move to approve.
Second.
Madam Mayor.
Okay, I have a
you're up.
motion to approve the agenda from Councilman Reese. I have a second from Vice Mayor Weber. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries unanimous. Okay. All right, thanks, Councilwoman Jordan. I think that was you. Okay, heading on over to consent agenda. At this time, I'm going to ask council members, do you have items that you would like to be pulled? I'm going to start with you, Vice Mayor Weber. I think that was none. Okay, Councilman Delgado.
Yes, Madam Mayor, I'd like to pull item B5 and then just make a general comment on a few items rather than pulling all of them.
Okay.
Yeah, if I can just do that really quick. I have several items on the agenda for consent for consideration as part of my discretionary funds, and hope everyone approves all of those. As you can see, as you read through them, there's an opportunity and the next fiscal year to also support some of those nonprofits that do a tremendous amount of work in our communities for our kids and all of our families. So please consideration and thank you to those that have supported or are also joining me in supporting those nonprofits. So
Yeah, fantastic. I looked through them, all great and very, very worthy. Great work, Councilman Delgado. Appreciated. Okay, so Councilman Reese, do you have anything you want to pull off the agenda?
No, Madam Mayor.
Okay, thank you. All right, Councilwoman Jordan.
None for me. Thank you.
Okay, fantastic. Councilwoman Breckus.
I'd like to pull items B3 and B4, please.
B3 and B4?
Yes.
Okay. All right, Councilwoman Dewar.
Nothing today.
Okay, thank you. So at this
Madam
time,
Mayor.
oh yes, go right ahead.
Thank you. If I can just interject right before, I know council is going to make a motion for approval of the remaining items. I would like to note for the record that we did receive public comment from Michael DiMartini, Friends of Wells, and Trent Hilmar. With that, we also have 4 voicemails that we will listen to now before council takes their motion for the remaining items.
Okay, thanks so much. Thanks for stopping me, Madam Clerk. Appreciate it.
Course.
Hello, everyone. This is Alana at the Holland Project. Just calling to say that we're so grateful for the support and the recognition by the city of Reno. While this past year has been enormously hard for many of us, it's been especially tough for young people in our community and for all the artists, musicians, students, and makers that make this community so unique and special. So you can understand that we're really looking forward to summer and fall months, to seeing more faces here at our venue, and to getting back to what we do best. Thanks for the support as we see live music return, to bring back our Girls Rock Reno summer camp, to see the galleries full of amazing work, and workshops of all kinds on our calendar, while we continue to craft new and exciting opportunities and experiences for young people in this community. Thanks again for your recognition, for always believing in us, and we hope you have a great week. Thanks.
Hello, this is Jenica Finnegan. I'm the project coordinator for the Community of Bilingual English Spanish Speakers, or CBES program, and I'm just calling to express my support for the $2,500 donation to support the CBES high school participants in their post-secondary educational pursuits. The overarching goal of CBES is to increase the number of bilingual health professionals in our community, and we do this by implementing programming for Northern Nevada high school students to get them interested in these career paths. So CBES facilitates career exploration events where students learn about the vast number of different professions within the healthcare field and meet bilingual practitioners. We host a summer research program where students identify a community health issue and investigate it. And then after the summer program, the students leverage that research to create an outreach initiative that directly impacts the community in a positive way. So some of the research topics and initiatives from this cohort of students included creating social media pages, debunking myths surrounding COVID-19. One of the groups investigated the impact of COVID-19 on youth mental health. That team was even featured on the Latino Research Center's podcast, where they advocated for more open discussions about mental health within the Latinx community. Some groups created pamphlets and signs to share about local resources and access to healthcare, and those are just a few examples of the work that these students have been doing while in the CBES program. So these funds would directly support CBES participants who are bilingual in English and Spanish. They're first-generation students and come from backgrounds that are underrepresented in STEM professions. They have been through a wild senior year and are now graduating high school during these unprecedented times, and so we need more bilingual healthcare professionals to better serve our community, and these students are on that path. So I would love to see the city support these students who have been working hard, so hard all year long to give back to their communities. And I'll end with a huge thank you to Councilmember Delgado for bringing this to council. I speak for the entire CBES team when I say we are super grateful for your continued advocacy for this program. Representation matters, and our students are lucky to have you as an ally and role model. Thank you.
Hello, Reno City Council members. My name is Logan Lathrop, and I'm the president of the UNR Volunteer Club. Just to give you all some background information about the club, it all started when I realized how hard it was to find fun volunteer opportunities within our community. The club started with me and a few friends, and since we started in August, the club has grown to have over 45 members and volunteered over 300 hours. We focus on finding volunteer opportunities that several of us can go to and try to make it a more fun, socially based event. I found that it's a lot easier to convince college students to come volunteer when there's a social aspect behind it. So far, the Volunteer Club has worked with 14 different organizations, including Truckee Meadows Boys and Girls Club, SPCA of Northern Nevada, and Keep Truckee Meadows Beautiful. We have also organized our own events, like this past winter when we organized a group of students to go help disabled and elderly folks shovel snow off their driveways. Shortly after starting the club, myself and some club members all decided to start the UNR Volunteer Club Scholarship. The goal of the scholarship is to pay for the first year's tuition of one student who is at less than ideal circumstances in life. I personally come from a background where through most of high school I was considered a homeless teenager. I never thought of going to school because I just simply couldn't afford it. The goal of this scholarship is to help a student in a similar situation get their foot in the door of starting their educational career. I've reached out to Eddie House of Reno for potential candidates and also plan on reaching out to several different high school counselors for more applicants. We will be awarding the scholarship on August 15th of this year. Since our inception in August, Councilmember Reese has been our community advisor, and we all appreciate the mentorship and support that he has provided. In addition to that, I would like to thank Mr. Reese for his proposed donation of $1,000. This would be a huge contribution to our fundraising efforts, and our club is very grateful for the support. Thank you all for your time, and please have a great day.
Hi, my name is Maria Luz Garcia, and I've been the director of the Dean's Future Scholars Program at UNR for the past 9 years. I just wanted to call in really quick to say thank you to Councilman Delgado for his generous contribution to the DFS program. The money itself is extremely helpful and very much appreciated, but even more so is the fact that he thought of us. We're a small grown program in the College of Education and Human Development. We know there's so many amazing organizations in the community who've been hit hard by the effects of the pandemic, and it just feels really uplifting to be able to be recognized by a community leader for the work that we do. Due to the pandemic, the DFS program wasn't able to celebrate its 20th anniversary, which is scheduled for April of 2020, terrible timing, but we've been forging ahead in our mission to remotely serve our first-generation low-income students in our community. We're currently e-mentoring 420 students in grades 7 through 12, and we're in full summer planning mode where we hope to get our students safely back on the UNR campus in person. Our students are very eager to get back to work and connect with their friends that they've grown up with, and so I just wanted to drop a little wink, wink, hint, hint to the council members. And we're always looking for community leaders to come serve as guest speakers during our summer program at UNR to talk about your career pathways. So if you're interested, let me know. But the great news about the donation comes during a very special week for us. We're celebrating our DFS college graduates, and we're happy to say that 14 students will be earning bachelor's degrees and 3 students will be earning their master's degrees. These students were tapped on the shoulder when they were in the 6th grade at a time in their life when college wasn't even on their radar. Their parents wanted the best for them, but weren't quite sure how to help them access college. So we're fast forwarding now. These grown-up 6th graders are definitely making their families and community proud. So I just wanted to say thank you to all of you for being part of their success. Thank you for the generous donation, and we're so lucky to have you as our leaders in our community. Take care and be safe and stay healthy. Bye.
All right, Madam Mayor, with that, we have no further public comment, and I'll return it to you and the body looking for a motion for approval of the remaining agenda items for consent.
Okay, great, fantastic. We've got a lot of great businesses that we're going to approve today, so I'm super excited. They will be creating new energy in our city and jobs. So this is great. So I have, did I already get a motion from Councilman Reese?
Move to approve.
All right, thank you. And a second from Vice Mayor Weber. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Great job. Okay, now we're going to head back over for Councilwoman Breckus. I'm going to send it to you for item B3.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. So this is a $500,000 study of a very important responsibility of ours, and that's providing sewer, but within the McCarran Ring. And I just had a few questions for engineering on this. I see Ms. Koski's on. About a year ago, maybe 2, there was a conversion of an office building to residential, institutional, I think it was Medicare beds for folks coming out of rehab hospitals. And it was on Grove Street off of Virginia, and there was no sewer. The sewer was stuck. We had to do a project that brought a bore of a sewer line under the freeway to plug in to get capacity. That was quite a wake up for a lot of people. So, and through that process, I learned that we routinely make the property owners who are wanting to change how they hook up to sewer chase the lines to the main. Is this going to standardize that?
Yes, Carrie Koski, your city engineer. This process will, this agreement will definitely help us to standardize that process. There is still going to be opportunity or situations where developers may be required to compensate or replace mains or upsize mains. What this is going to do, and I really want to thank you because you brought this to our attention early on, that we need to have a sewer model that basically we can have higher reliability for all of our infill projects. So this will give us 2 things. It will expand our model into the pipes that are 12 inches and smaller, and then it'll also give us that additional support for development review early on when these projects are being contemplated. So yes, great question, and thank you.
Okay, well, thank you. I'm glad to know that we're taking that to that next step. And there was one other provision here, and I guess the model, we'll be able to update the model, right? And then it'll also be able to feed onto the CIP where we have deficiencies. Okay. Yes. And then the other thing is on the background, on the first paragraph, it seemed to talk about rainfall derived inflow and these intertie issues. So I've heard over time that we have some intertie of stormwater and sewer. Are we trying to get away from that? Because we don't want that, right?
Correct. We are separating stormwater from sewer, especially in infill development areas. We have a way to track several of those locations, and we put those on our CIP as well for replacements.
Okay. This is good progress then, because you know, it's a very core responsibility, and holding up a project ready to go in the infill area, a building already in existence, because we didn't have sewer. That was one for all time. So I'll move to approve unless anyone has any other questions.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries unanimously. Okay, great. Moving right along. Councilwoman Breckus, right back at you for item B4.
Yeah, so this is more or less a continuation of an item that we had last meeting where, and I didn't support the item at Tumwa because I don't think it was adequately explained at that time, and I'm grudgingly supported it here when it came over. But this is continuing to irrigate the up in American Flats with potable water, a farm project that we set up to dewater Swan Lake. It was never conceptualized we were going to go to potable water because we were trying to get rid of water. Now we're bringing water to where we were trying to get rid of water. But I noticed, and I think it was played or referenced in the public comment, someone, and he attached some documentation, expressed some concerns about this. How did you interpret that public comment, Mr. Flansburgh?
Councilmember Breckus, I've actually not seen that public comment that came in, so I can't refer to that. I can say that the benefits of this project, as we talked previously, is that we keep that farm in motion. We also have the opportunity to pump from two different Tumwa wells that have not been in operation. This actually helps in the resiliency of their system. Because they haven't been pumping their wells up there for quite some time. The groundwater also is at about as high as it's been in 40 years. So I think that's another thing to consider. And obviously being able to pump water at this point to exercise those wells, have them retested and get them back into the potable system will be helpful to Tumwa. But yes, you're correct. This is a continuation of the discussion we had last week. We do plan on bringing another agreement to you for a consultant agreement for the oversight on the construction management at the next meeting. But this is the continuation of the Tumwa agreement we approved last time.
Well, I mean, high groundwater isn't necessarily a good thing, right?
I mean, obviously it's, if you're, for the well owners, if you have higher ground in the aquifer that they're pulling from, it's helpful that they have higher water than they've had, but it's also not a good thing. So it'll be good for us to pump that down some. That'll be another benefit here.
So the correspondence came in yesterday for item, I think he did say item B4. So, you know, everyone needs to get the public comment that's we're getting so they can respond to it if we have questions. But it said, is being prepared on behalf of certain owner rights amended it's Mr. Martini, and he mentioned some water right applications for closed basins, and he thinks that it's controverting existing waters that are available in the area, and he referenced some documents. You haven't had a chance to look at that?
I have not, but I certainly have spoken to Mr. DiMartini in the past and be happy to reach out to him.
Well, what are his concerns about the water rights in that area?
I know that he put in for water rights off of the stormwater during the 2017 that he put in for potential water rights. I know he hasn't put any of those to beneficial use at this point, but I'm not sure what his other concerns are, but be happy to reach out to him. Yeah,
or just interpret to us what he is expressing, because that would be good. But I'll support it as its continuation of what we did before, but
Second.
Yeah.
All right, so I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, motion carries unanimously. Okay, I'm going to send it over to Councilman Delgado for item B5. Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. B5, thank you for allowing me to pull B5. It's a disclosure. So if I can read the disclosure, fellow city council members and Madam Clerk, before we go any further on this item on agenda, item B5, NRS requires me to disclose the fact that I am employed by Community Health Alliance, attendant at a city-owned community assistance center. On this matter, I sought guidance from the city attorney's office. Here I have a commitment in a private capacity to my employer, Community Health Alliance. The Neal Road complex consists of 3 buildings, the gymnasium / senior center building, Community Health Alliance building, and the Boys and Girls Club / Reno Police Department substation building. The roofs of these city buildings are 22 years old and have been patched several times but continue to leak during rain and snowstorms. So in accordance to Nevada law, the city issued and publicly advertised the bid, and the city received 4 bids in response. Item B5 does not impact CHA's operations. It will not impact my ability to impartially review and render a decision awarding the bid under the agenda item. In light of the foregoing, the independent judgment of a reasonable person in my situation would not be materially affected by my commitment in a private capacity to CHA, and I will be voting on this matter. Madam Clerk, please accept this disclosure and lodge it on the record for this meeting and subsequent meetings pertaining to this agenda item. Thank you. That's all I needed.
Move to approve.
All right, thank you. I have a motion. I have a second from Councilwoman Weber. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries unanimously. All right, and I just want to shout out to Councilman Delgado and Councilman Reese. These are all great nonprofits doing great work in the community and so very worthy. Fantastic. So really appreciate that. You guys are rock stars. Good job. Okay, Madam Clerk, I believe we are going to head into our public hearing, item C1. Am I correct?
You are correct, Madam Mayor.
Okay, so at this time, I am going to open the public hearing, so let the record reflect that. Madam Clerk, was proper notice given? Any correspondence received?
Madam Mayor, proper notice was given and correspondence was received. We received 13 letters of support, 1 letter of opposition, and 1 letter of concern. It should be noted these comments were received prior to 4 p.m., the business day preceding the meeting, which was yesterday. Additional comments were received after 4 p.m. Those will be included in the record for closing general public comment. However, those have all been submitted to council for review and for the record.
Okay, fantastic. Do any council members have any disclosures at this time? I'm seeing that there are none. So we're going to head over to staff presentation to the one and only Jeff Limpert. Hi, hello, nice to see you this morning. All right, Jeff, the show's all yours, so go ahead and take it away.
All right. Well, good morning, council members and Madam Mayor. For the record, Jeff Limpert, management analyst. I have a short presentation, so I will share my screen here. Hopefully that's coming through. All right. So the goals of today's public hearing is to provide a brief background on the creation of the bid, to describe the proposed assessment role, to account for any hardships that may exist, and to dispense or accept any written objections to changes to the proposed assessment role, and to ultimately adopt a resolution and introduce an ordinance. Again, just a brief overview of how the bid was created. This all started with the Reimagine Reno process. Through that process, we learned that downtown had been neglected, and that there was time to take a different approach to how we work with our downtown property owners and try to revitalize it. So everyone's very familiar with that quote of "Love Reno except for downtown." So from Reimagine Reno, the Downtown Action Plan was born. It was decided that we needed to create a plan to really create the improvements needed for downtown. The most pressing need that the Downtown Action Plan discovered was that we really needed to look at creating a bid from the existing SADs that were already in place. So the goal of it was to replace the existing police and maintenance assessment districts with the single business improvement district. And the 2 biggest changes that were going to come from that would be augmenting Reno Police with the ambassadors so all the individuals we see out on the streets today in their blue shirts and the Segways, and so that they could provide, hospitality, quality of life issues, and social work. In addition, it was seen by the stakeholders of the downtown that there wasn't an individual or organization that was seen as the, champion for downtown. So the idea was we needed to create a, private nonprofit downtown management organization, which today we know as the Downtown Reno Partnership. So what we were going to get from this new bid was a layer of cake. I call it a cake of services in terms of 3 layers. You have the standard services, the premium services, and the premium plus services. Standard being the Clean and Safe program. Again, that's those, safety ambassadors, and then support for the downtown, primarily through the Downtown Reno Partnership, and them supporting marketing, economic development, hospitality, and communications. And then premium and premium plus kind of replace the old maintenance district with premium services being on spot cleaning for the downtown, pressure washing, and those types of enhanced services that other areas of the city do not receive. And then in addition, Premium Plus, which is properties primarily along Virginia Street, receive additional cleaning services as well as infrastructure improvements. As most of you are aware, the lighting of the trees along Virginia Street was something that was paid for out of the Premium Plus funds. In addition, the retrack redesign, that effort, some of the funds associated with that are coming from the Premium Plus funds available from the bid. So again, just to kind of reorient everyone on what the bid boundary looks like and those zones. Obviously, all this shaded blue is the standard area. The tannish color is the maintenance district. And then the green line is your Virginia Street, which is where all the Premium Plus services, and the purple is kind of the grid for the premium services. So again, just kind of reoriented everyone and anyone who might be listening of what the bid district looks like. The bid life cycle, the bid was formed in March of 2018. And then in April of 2018 is when the DRP was approved as the DMO. And then since then, on an annual basis, we've been having these public hearings to levy the assessments. And it's the opportunity for property owners to object to those assessments and to make any other changes that the bid might be requesting or the DRP would be requesting. And this year, there are no changes being requested. So this is really just an opportunity for property owners to object to the assessment and for council to address those issues and to ultimately levy the assessments. In fiscal year 23, we will have a formal review of the bid to ensure that it's meeting the needs as the management plan lays out. And then the bid will end in the fiscal year of 28. At that time, a new petition would be required to re-engage the bid. From an annual perspective, on March 10th, the DRP provided a operating plan and budget to City Council. That becomes the cornerstone of the levies of assessments. We take that information and then finalize an assessment roll. Essentially what we're doing is taking the rates that the bid have set, we apply it to the assessed valuation as established by the Washoe County Assessor's Office, and that becomes our assessment roll. Our city our city engineer signed off on that on April 1st. And on April 14th, we brought before you a resolution to fix the date and time of this public hearing, which is today. From April 14th till now, we also do our noticing. All property owners receive a proposed assessment amount for their properties. All tenants receive a notice of the public hearing. We place it in the RGJ, for noticing, and then it's also published on our website as well as posted on public buildings. So again, as I stated, it all starts with that financial report to the city provided by the DRP. In that report, they highlighted, Mr. Statinsky, the executive director, highlighted the activities of the DRP for the current fiscal year. They also provide the planned actions for the next fiscal year, and then they include discussions on the budget. So that budget that they presented to council then showed that the bid would need to be assessed $2.792 million. The actual assessment roll is slightly higher because of the property valuations at 2.797. So there was a slight increase from the time that they presented to the time staff finalized that roll. So again, this just kind of visualizes how we go from the DRP report to assessments. The DRP board sets their plan, comes up with a proposed budget. That budget then impacts what the rates will be. From those rates, I'm able to apply them to the actual assessment values of property to create the final assessment roll being used today. The assessments are calculated again by standard services plus premium services plus premium plus services. That total amount is the assessment applied to a property owner in the downtown. The figures below are the total valuation of what those assessments totaled. So we had 2 million, let's call it 2.3 million for standard services, just over 400,000 for premium services, and just over 100,000 for premium plus services. So the total assessment roll came out to be $2,797,465.29. The standard services, it's again, the assessed valuation. That data was locked as of March 13th of 21. That's multiplied by the assessment rate that is established by the DRP Board of Directors. That max rate could have been 0.005278. Again, according to the management plan, they have the ability to go up 5% per year on those rates. However, for this year, they left the rate flat. As you can see in the rate history box below, the rate has been flat since fiscal year 1920. So there was a reduction in the second year, and it's been maintained at that level since then. Premium and premium plus services, it's a very similar formula, except for your basis is your linear footage on in the district times a rate. Again, those max rates could have been $11.40 per linear foot for the premium service and $19.82 per linear foot for your premium plus services. And again, those rates were essentially held flat. There are some minor deviations, in the premium from $10.92 to $10.98, and that's primarily due to the change of ownership. There were university-owned parcels that have since been sold to private individuals, and because of that, there's no longer a discount applied, and that discount creates a little bit of additional budget. So if you recall, the number was $403,000 for the premium budget, and that in the past it's always been at $400,000. So that's why you see the slight rate increase there. And then premium plus has been held constant. And again, when you look at the total rate, it then gets applied a discount factor for residential, governmental entities, public agencies, and nonprofits. So commercial, it's going to be, they pay full freight. However, residential, there's a 15% discount. That's because when the bid was set up, our consultant at that time, Puma, determined that residential owners don't benefit from marketing of properties like a commercial entity would. And so at that time, that budget reflected about 15% of the bid of the DRP's budget. So that's why that reduction was given to the residential units. And then governmental, public, and nonprofits also were seen to not benefit the same way as commercial and residential property owners. And so they get the 50% discount. Again, standard rate, no change. Slight changes to the premium and no changes to the premium plus. So any changes within a property owner's assessment this year is going to be due to the assessed valuation of the property. And then, so this slide shows you on whole, for this year, the assessments have dropped 3% across the board in the business improvement district. You can see how that breaks out across the various parcel groups. So we could refer back to that slide if needed, but again, on whole, the assessed values dropped. Consequently, the total assessments dropped as well. So this is where we would generally discuss written protests and objections. This is the fourth time that we've had a public hearing for the Downtown Reno Business Improvement District. And it's the first time that we've had no written protest or objections to discuss or for council members to address. Again, the intent of this slide is just to show that, you know, we do communicate to individuals to let them know that this is going on. So even in the time of COVID and not being in person, we do a very good job of, you know, posting on our website and posting it on buildings and newspapers, and plus everybody receives it through the mail, and, you know, for them to provide or give them that opportunity to know that this is occurring and to provide a written objection should they desire to do so. In addition, in your packets, I did include several emails that I received. Those are just included so council members are aware of the conversations that I'm having with ratepayers. So I wanted to make sure that council members did get to see the commentary that's being provided by individuals that I'm receiving. So the next steps at this point is to discuss hardships. There were none submitted, so there's no motion required to change the assessment role to account for hardships. There is no complaints to dispense with. So the other things that we need to do today is to adopt the resolution, approving the cost of the project, you know, confirming the assessment role in its current form, and to the authorize the recording of properties to be assessed, and then ultimately to refer the bill, you know, for ordinance adoption. With that, I can take questions. I also, in the waiting room is Mr. Tatinsky, should there be specific questions to the DRP, but for the most part, I should be able to answer, you know, most of your questions.
All right, fantastic. Great job, Jeff. Really great job. Impressive. I just have to say, and I'm glad Mr. Statinsky is on the phone with us, or I think he's in one of our boxes soon, maybe. If anyone has any questions of him, but I just want to say, I think you guys have done a tremendous job. I don't even believe Las Vegas still has their bid in place. Am I correct, Jeff?
You're correct in that.
So I just want to say thank you so much. I think you guys have done tremendous work, and we are certainly seeing it. I have so many residents, but businesses along the river that sing the praises of the bid constantly. One of them is Dawn Garcia, and she just, I probably get an email from her every week with updates and all the things that the bid is doing down there for businesses. It's really impressive. So I want you to know that your hard work is definitely being noticed by so many, especially downtown. So thank you to you, Jeff. Great presentation. And Mr. Statinsky, I want to say thank you. I'm so grateful for your hard work and everything you've accomplished, because you guys have just sort of hit the ground running and done a phenomenal job. So thank you. And I want to say thank you to Councilwoman Jordan. She's been our point over there and done a phenomenal job as well. So kudos to everyone. Okay, I'm going to open it up for any questions that any council members might have. I'm going to send it right over to you, Councilwoman Jordan.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, Jeff, and Alex, for all of your work and all of the bid businesses and board members who really do work tremendously hard to improve the quality of experience in our downtown, to stabilize our streets and promote economic development. This last year was most certainly a significant challenge for everybody, and an extra one for the bid. And as the ambassadors stepped up and into a role that we are so thankful for them acting as people that were helping to keep our downtown clean and sanitized and help direct people to resources during the midst of the pandemic. It was just so tremendous. So kudos to everybody involved there. The question I had was more for Carl, City Attorney's Office. And I recall we had some litigation where somebody filed and did, I believe that's been resolved and they lost. Can you give us a little bit of an update on the litigation that was brought regarding assessments in the bid? I believe it was Mr. Lorton's lawsuit.
Yes, Mr. Lorton did bring a lawsuit, and that has been resolved in the city's favor. It was determined that his complaint was without merit, so it's been resolved.
Okay, thank you very much. And that's significant because, as I recall, the assertion was that his properties or property did not receive any benefit, and it was determined that wasn't accurate, and the city prevailed on that, which has, it's good that we got that ruling. I think it's important And it's important to get that on the record. So thank you very much to our city attorney's office. And again, thank you to the bid. You guys really are doing tremendous work. And the fact that you didn't have anybody objecting, only positive, is tremendous. And coming out of the pandemic, your work is going to be so, so valuable as we re-energize our downtown. So thank you. And thank you, Jeff. We don't sing your praises enough, but you deserve them today.
Totally agree. Okay. And we don't get to see Jeff that much. So it's always such a nice surprise to see you on our meetings, Jeff. That's probably a good thing for you. Anyway, do any other council members have any questions or comments of Mr. Limpert? No? Wow. Jeff, you are doing phenomenal.
This
All right.
might be on record for the fastest public hearing for bid.
Yes, exactly. Okay. So with that being said, Madam Clerk, I'm going to send it back to you. And I think we have to go into public comment.
Madam Mayor, we have no further public comment on this item. What I would make a recommendation at this time is to have the city attorney read the bill introduction for item C13. And then if it's all right with him and the body, you can make one motion for all 3 sub-items of this.
Okay, that's fantastic. And so we don't have to, I guess this question is for Carl. We don't have to make a motion separately on hardships.
Well, the motion on item C11 would be to approve staff recommendation, and that is for council to approve the hardship determinations for the applicants. And there were no hardship determinations to be made. So just
okay, perfect. That's what I just wanted to clarify. We had no hardships. Okay, perfect. So, and you are okay with us taking, what was it? A and B.
So on C12, you can refer or adopt the resolution.
Okay.
And then
all right.
refer the ordinance for second reading and adoption.
Okay, I'm going to send it over to Council Member at Large, Devin Reese. Please give us a motion.
I was hoping Councilmember Jordan would be ready to do.
Oh, okay.
Before we do that, I'm going to go ahead and read the ordinance.
Yes, sorry, go right ahead. We're losing track here. Go ahead, Carl.
Introduction, bill number 7174, ordinance of the Reno City Council providing for the levy and manner of collection of assessments for the City of Reno, Nevada Neighborhood Improvement Project, otherwise known as the Downtown Reno Business Improvement District, ratifying, approving, and confirming all other actions previously taken by the City Council of the City of Reno and the officers of said city directed toward the acquisition and improvements of said project in the district, together with other matters properly related thereto. Thank you.
All right, perfect. Okay, then I'm going to send it to Councilman Jordan. Give us the motion, and Councilman Reese, you can give us a second.
Thank you very much. I'm going to try to do this all at once. And Mr. Hall, if I get this incorrect, please jump in. Move to approve staff recommendation and to adopt the resolution and refer.
Second.
All right, perfect. I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries unanimously. Okay, good job. Back at you, Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Moving to item C2. This is a public hearing for the CDBG grant.
Fantastic. Okay, at this time, let the record reflect that the City Council is opening the public hearing. Madam Clerk, was proper notice given? Any correspondence received?
Madam Mayor, proper notice was given on this item and no correspondence was received. Additionally, we have no public comment.
Perfect. Any disclosures from council members? Seeing that there are none, we are going to just head right into a staff presentation.
Good morning, Madam Mayor, council members. Monica Cochran for the record. This is going to be pretty quick. This is a required public hearing as part of some CD funding that we are receiving from the state through a CDBG allocation. It's a little cattywampus as the process is kind of backwards. We've already brought this to council back in February to approve the agreement from the state. And this is the last part of the process, which is really a citizen participation component to allow for the public to know exactly what we're planning on spending these funds on. As you know, we are an entitlement jurisdiction, so we receive CDBG funds annually. We received 2 additional funding allocations through the CD awards. And then this one was awarded to the state sometime back in the fall, and they notified us that our allocation would be about, I think, $953,000. I just wrote it down and I got the, $953,797. Sorry about that. We propose to use these funds for shelter operations for the following year. As we know, with all of the social distancing and other requirements, that our sheltering costs were going to be increased. And that was what was proposed to the state and what was brought to council and approved back in February. And so now we're just asking for final approval so we can show that we went through a citizen participation process for the state.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Monica, for that background. Madam Clerk, do we have any public comment? All right, I think we lost Ashley. Okay, moving on then.
Move to approve.
Wait, I had a question. I'm sorry, I didn't raise my hand.
Yeah, hold on one second. We will come back to public comment. I just want everyone to know that after questions. So go ahead, Councilwoman Breckus, 3 minutes.
Yeah, and we're on C1, correct?
Correct. No, C2.
C2.
C2, yes, C2. Okay, sorry. When I met with the manager the other day, and he told me that we were going to start to enforce the camping regulations east of, I don't know, in Ward 3, over east of maybe Center Street, you know, in association with the CARES campus opening. I asked if we were also going to be having more or less an option for people, the shelter, the new CARES campus, or kind of a more robust stand-up of our motels voucher program. And I haven't heard back from him yet. And I was just wondering, when you say shelter operations, is there room to, you know, people are, you know, they'd rather, you know, take advantage of some motel sheltering that we offer rather than this CARES campus. Can we use this for that program, and how's that program doing now?
We don't necessarily have a motels program. Through some of the CARES funding, there was a portion of funds that were put to help the owners of motels for past rents. That was a one-time funding, and we granted out about $500,000 for that process. This allocation is actually to help with the increased cost of shelter operations, and I can let Manager Thornley respond to the rest.
So the voucher program that you mentioned, Councilmember Breckus, that lives at RHA. And my understanding from Ms. Jones over at RHA is that you know, we have a healthy voucher program, but we don't necessarily have slack in that program. So we have a waiting list, and people come off the voucher program, and we maintain a list of people who then come on.
I thought when Miss Weissman was here, we had something, maybe I've got the terminology wrong. We had like a bridge program for people who are just transitioning out of housing to put them over. And do I have my terminology wrong?
We have a small motels to homes program that we fund, and that's to actually get folks out of motels into permanent housing. And then we also do have a bridge housing program, but it's not necessarily for motels. It is right now at the family shelter, and it's kind of getting folks out, transitioning out of the shelter into permanent housing with some case management. And we have a housing navigator to help get them into permanent housing.
So the encampment folks have one option, and that is the CARES campus. They don't have an option to go into some bridge transitional housing like motels.
Not necessarily. If they were more housing ready, some folks have, some of our staff, Antonio, for instance, has really been working hard with folks. And some of those people, they've had barriers such as a license or something like that, where he's helped them. And then they've been able to get into some permanent housing. If somebody, there's folks that we come across a lot of times where we kind of help mitigate some barriers and get them maybe into the village at Sage or something like that. Some people are more ready for that. They just need, some minor support.
Yeah, okay. I was hoping that with all the resources coming in, we could kind of fork it to people who feel, maybe the CARES campus isn't the best option for them, to fork them over to some motels, if there's any slack in the motel housing. And I've been advocating for that for a long time. As a matter of fact, I didn't support the CARES campus over the belief that we should have been out buying motels, like really what they've been doing over in California with all of their, federal money that's come in through COVID relief. But I don't know. I mean, I would just maybe see if there's a way to stand up that option for folks. And I get the readiness, but, and maybe we need to data point it. Do we have people who are being told, they're not going to go to CARES campus, but would they be receptive of, 2 months in a motel to get them ready, get them stabilized, and then look at that option? Is it feasible to earmark some of this money because we're getting so much money to take that approach?
With this particular funding, I don't believe so. If there's some other funding that comes forward for housing type activities, we might be able to look at it for that. Even a lot of the funds that have come forward for rental assistance and such, they're pretty, our hands are pretty tied with how we can spend the money. So it'd be something that we'd have to look into further.
Yeah. I mean, I believe I've seen more federal money come through in this last year in my entire life. And I worked on stimulus in the last recession. If there's a will, I think there's a way for this body to explore another option, frankly.
Yeah, Councilwoman Breckus, I think you bring up some really, really good points. And I would tell you, and I think it's a really good opportunity and time, and have Amy Jones come in. I think the council needs to collaborate with RHA and Monica, because I got to tell you, Amy put in a crisis relocation specialist, and it would be really great also for everyone to hear some of the incredible work that that's happening there, but also on Monica's team. Because Monica, you have some amazing rock stars, but I got to tell you, there's a lot of challenges with what you're bringing up, Councilwoman Breckus and Monica, because Monica, you were talking about how, some of those funds are really restrictive, and I've seen some of the barriers, and sometimes those barriers are really, really challenging. Like if someone had a criminal past record, and I don't think, there's a lot of people that turn around their lives and years later, they're back on their feet, and then they can't qualify because something, happened in their past. We've seen things like this. There's a lot of different barriers. I would love for the council to kind of understand exactly what those barriers are, but also provide some guidance to the housing authority, so that I think they have a broader perspective on what the council is trying to achieve, to your point, Councilwoman Breckus. So I would ask the city manager if we could do some sort of like joint meeting. I know we're always in meetings anyway, but first of all, there's some impressive work, but I think getting some direction from council on what exactly you're talking about, Councilwoman Breckus, because I run into this all the time, and I get so frustrated with the guidelines and the barriers. And I'd love to know if we could go over those pretty intimately and find out, is that something we can remove, or is that a HUD hurdle, or how can we help with some of that funding, but also make it so much less restrictive? Because I got to tell you, there's a lot of minutia that goes along with this. And I love Amy, she's fantastic. But I think, if she had some direction from council, there might also be some ways in which she feels comfortable sort of getting us, to those points. I think that would be really, really helpful. Go ahead, Councilwoman Jordan.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And I think it's important as we evolve that discussion to ensure that we have somebody, representative from the county, that can speak to this issue too. I know with us transitioning the lead agency over to the county, there have been many, many meetings that we all have been having with regards to exactly this discussion. I mean, while the CARES campus is meant to be the emergency shelter and will be evolved into having all sorts of wraparound services, the diversion is really what the goal is. The goal is really to do what Councilwoman Breckus has been stating, is finding out, is there another place or opportunity that is more fitting for the situation, whether it's a connection with family or some other alternate housing that is best suitable. And the county, I know, is working very hard on all those fronts. And I do know from the whole put them right in a motel room comment, when we had a large meeting with a number of advocates in the lived experience group, which we have had many discussions with those individuals, even those that have been formerly homeless, made it clear that that's not always an option that's an appropriate one. There are many that aren't prepared to be, to do well in that environment. And so there's lots of moving parts in this, but I do think the county being involved in this discussion, and Mr. Thornley, I know, has been working very hard on all of the pieces in the transition over to the county. I think their voices are necessary here because, I mean, they just added 10 more people to help with homeless services, as I understand. So, and they want to be a part of helping evolve all of this. So, and Mr. Thornley, before we finish, and I know my time is quickly up, can you tell me with this contract and on the 17th, what services that we have been talking about will be available on the 17th? I think there's some confusion and discussion about what will or won't be offered at the Nevada Cares campus on the 17th.
We stand today, we'll be ready to open on May 17th. There will be limited availability for couples. There will be limited availability for women. There will be sheltering for men available at the campus. And it is my understanding that we will have some availability for pets.
Thank you very much. And
that has been sort of a testament to Ms. Cochran and Mrs. Sparza and our team here. I can't say enough about sort of the miracles they've performed out there to keep us, can't say on schedule, but on track for the 17th. In fact, they were out there this morning moving pieces around, and I think without our team, we would not be where we are today.
Yeah, I would say that everyone has done a tremendous job on such, short timelines. It's impressive. But I would also say this, just so the council knows, one of the reasons that Ms. Jones put in a crisis relocation specialist is because my frustration, and I'm sure all of you, was that in order to get services, someone would have to be at the shelter. And there's a lot of people that won't go to the shelter, or there are situations that prevent that. And so if you guys have people, because I have people that reach out to me all the time, and this specialist has done a really good job and has figured out, ways in which we can get them to the Sage Street campus, which has been pretty phenomenal because there are a lot of things that may not qualify someone. So there's some sort of intricacies that have to be worked through, but I want the council to know that there is a resource there. And she's also available at the county and for Sparks. But I think, there's been a lot of success there, and it's really something that we need to build upon. And I think to Councilwoman Jordan's point, really engaging with the county to understand this has to be holistic, but it also has to be a regional approach if this is going to be successful. So really appreciate that. But I would like to see a presentation from RHA and maybe Monica, where we could all collaborate together on what those barriers are and ways in which I think this council can help lift them, and ways that we can, because that's one thing, Councilwoman Breckus, that you brought up about acquiring motels, and that's what Amy has started to look at. She's engaged with several property owners for those motels, which is really good, because we know that we need that transitional. But we also have to remember just putting a roof over someone's head is not going to address the root of the problem, which oftentimes is, health problems or mental health problems or addiction problems. There's different reasons why people experience trauma. And so we've got to really start getting to the root of those causes as well. So I will get with Manager Thornley and we'll put something together, but I think it would be really great for you guys to hear about the work that's happening, because I know many of you probably know it, but I think the public doesn't know it, and it's impressive, but also in ways we can help lift those barriers and what those are. That's why we collaborated to get that crisis relocation specialist, because I was so frustrated with so many people I think going without just because they weren't in the shelter system, and that shouldn't be the way that it is. If you're homeless or experiencing difficulty, that you have to go through a ton of red tape to get there. So anyway, I want to say thank you so much, Monica. Fantastic work. Really appreciated. Okay, any more questions from council members? Go ahead, Councilman Reese.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and I'll try to be brief. I guess ultimately the discussion we're having is a bit far afield from the agenda item, but to the extent that we're having the conversation, I believe it's very positive. I think it's unknown at this point whether many of the hotel voucher programs have been or can be considered a success. I think we'll know in the coming months. I mean, our neighbor, to the west, California, has invested hundreds of millions, and I think the governor there, Gavin Newsom, announced a $12 billion commitment just yesterday or the day before, which addresses some of these very similar things. For my part, of course, I think I continue to believe, as Councilmember Reckes has often said, the county should be the focus of these things. And obviously this CDBG grant, which we've already addressed and dealt with and are essentially functionally approving a second time, is directed at a pool of money that has a specific use, which I think is beyond the sort of item that Councilmember Reckes has posited. At the end of the day, does that mean that this council does not support a housing first approach? No. Does it mean that we don't believe that there are individualized solutions? No. In fact, I think all of us agree that there is no one size fits all approach. So if a person is maybe considering coming to the CARES campus, I think they will work with the navigators there and the folks on site to figure out what's best for them. And if a person says, I don't like, big crowds, or I need a smaller environment, I think there are ways to work through that, but that is really beyond our micromanaging of it. I think that those entities are in the best position and have the most skilled resources to be able to make those decisions with the folks who are impacted directly. I don't think as a council we're tasked with doing that at that level. I think ultimately our dollars will be stretched the furthest if we work with the county to find the most coherent solutions. And again, no one strategy is going to fit every circumstance. And to that extent, I think we should continue to watch the data points. We should focus on them. But I just feel it is perhaps a strange place to be, to have been opposed to a shelter operation and then try to sort of take the resources that we want to direct to it in a different direction. This body has proclaimed an important need for a regional shelter, and we are moving towards the county's ultimate sort of takeover of those services, something that I think my colleague from Ward 1 has been asking for many years. So it's a strange thing to be saying, well, maybe we should stand up a new program when really the county should be dealing with those programs largely, and the dollars that we get by being an entitlement jurisdiction should go where this body has decided they should go as a group collectively, which is to the CARES campus. The CARES campus is impressive. It's not a panacea. It's not a solution. It is part of a very complex puzzle that I think as we move forward, will have lots of changes. It'll have different fits and starts. And as you said, Mayor, we can't be afraid to fail. What we have to do is be able to look at the best practices. We have to look at the lived experience of people and make decisions based on that. So thank you for the opportunity to support it. And I will be supporting the agenda item.
Okay, anyone else? No? Okay. And you're right. Sorry, Councilman Reese, we got off track here, which sometimes we do. We will chase cats. Okay. All right. Thank you. I have a motion. Do I have a second? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Okay, moving right along. Madam Clerk, next item.
Madam Mayor, we're on item C3. This is the 2021-22 HUD Annual Action Plan, also with Monica Cochran.
All right. So this is a public hearing, Madam Clerk, correct?
That is correct, Madam Mayor.
Okay, so we will now open the public hearing, so let the record reflect that. Do any proper notice, Madam Clerk, any correspondence received?
Madam Mayor, proper notice was given and no correspondence was received on this item. Additionally, we have no
Okay.
public comment.
Fantastic. Do any council members have disclosures? Seeing that there are none, I'm going to send it right back to you. Monica, go ahead.
Thank you. I'm going to try to share this really quick here. Sorry about that. I'm having a little technical share my screen. And I think hopefully you should see the PowerPoint.
Yes.
Okay. I'm gonna get my screen back up here. Okay. So what the public hearing today is for our annual HUD action plan. As you've seen this many times, we start with our 5-year consolidated plan, which we redid last year, and we had year 1 of our action plan. So this will be year 2 of our 5-year consolidated plan, and it will be for the 21-22 year. The HUD action plan basically outlines how we will spend the money that HUD has granted to us annually. We are, as you know, an entitlement jurisdiction. So each year we get an annual allocation of CDBG, home, and ESG from the Department of Housing and Community Development. The home funds are distributed through a process of the Home Consortium, which we are the lead on. So the timeline this year started back in December. This is a pretty long process, and that's when we kind of start with our internal interest for CDBG funds. The home process is kind of all at that same time. Those applications are released in the fall, and we go through a process with the CDBG subcommittee, the CIP, city manager, and back to the subcommittee to make recommendations for the CDBG funds. And the home allocation goes through a process with the technical review committee of the Home Consortium. The managers of the 3 jurisdictions get together, and then it goes to the regional board, which will be, I believe, this year in June 10th. So CDBG is funds that are really, they have 3 major components or eligible uses. They're to support low to moderate income persons, address blight, or urgent need in the community. Urgent need is pretty hard to prove, and blight is a little difficult also. So we typically use 100% of our funds to address and support low to moderate income persons and households. CDBG projects could be different public services, demolition, construction, public facilities, things like that. We are grandfathered in from the way allocations were put out back in the early 80s. So we're allowed to use 26% of our funds for public service. Most jurisdictions can only use 15%. This year, our allocation of CDBG funds is about 2.1 million, and then we had a little repurposed CDBG funds from prior years. So we had available after our administrative deduction about 2.1 million. And I would like also to say that this is exclusive of any of the additional HUD, CDBG, ESG, or home funds that we received as a result of COVID-19. This is just our normal allocation. This next slide is a little hard to see because we had a great deal of requests this year.
Hey, Monica,
Yes.
you are not proceeding on your slides, so.
Oh.
We're still at your first slide.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Let's see here. Why is this happening? Okay. I apologize. I was pressing the wrong screen. I was advancing my slides and not yours.
Okay.
I apologize for that. Thank you for bringing that up.
Yes.
So here's a slide that I was saying is a little hard to see. This lists all of the projects that were brought forward to our attention from the different internal departments this year. We received almost $5 million in requests, and obviously didn't have that amount of money. So going through the process with the CDBG subcommittee, CIP, city manager, I keep pressing the wrong screen. I apologize. There we go. What the end result was for our projects is on this slide. And I'm sorry, they just won't both go at the same time. So what was proposed this year, you'll see the administrative costs on here. Also the support to the CAC, which that's typically what it's been called in the past. It is for shelter operations that goes towards the city's portion of shelter operations. So what we're responsible for, we use these funds to go towards our portion. There is a ped ramp project in here. There are some park improvements because we had so much interest this year. We really kind of asked that folks focus on probably projects that would provide the most benefit to the intended population. So you'll see on here Robin Hood Park. There has been some investment put in the last couple of years into Paradise Park with the new courts over there. So there's some security gates that were proposed this year to kind of guard that asset. As we do each year, we have put a little bit of funds towards ADA sidewalks, and audible signals. And then there is also a project for the roof replacement out the California building. And this is the final list that's being brought forward for council's approval for the 21-22 year of CDBG funds. So next is the home funds. Home funds, again, are we are the lead entity of the Washoe County Home Consortium. The Washoe County Home Consortium has jurisdiction over the home funds. So we staff the liaison, I guess, for this process. We have a staff member that guides this process. This again has gone through the TRC. The two city managers and county manager have approved it, and it will be going to the regional board in June. Home funds can be used for buying or building new housing for folks that meet the income criteria. Historically, this jurisdiction has used it to help support developers of affordable housing. Again, the eligibility for this is a little different than CDBG. HUD likes us home funds to go towards projects that folks are 60% or less than area median. And the majority of the funds or all of the funds for this year have gone towards either rehabilitation or new construction. And I apologize, I'm just really having a hard time with my slides here. This year, our allocation was about $1.2 million. And then we had some program income, which is funds that come back from past projects. And then we have an expected amount that we'll be receiving from the state, which brings the total of this year's award up to about $1.7 million. The projects this year are on the next slide. And you'll see kind of some smaller contributions towards a lot of projects. This is due to kind of the needed home investment for the developers to receive tax credits. Of all of these different projects, You'll see, I think there's about 7 here or 8. This is creating approximately 600 new units for seniors. There is also a rehabilitation project that's going to retain about 90 units for very low income individuals. And then one of the projects, I believe, is also one of the senior projects is a very low income project also. And I apologize, I know this is kind of a dry presentation. The next is the ESG funds. ESG, the intent of ESG funds is really to help assist folks that have are experiencing some housing crisis or are experiencing homelessness, to keep that brief and help them move forward. ESG funds can be used for shelter operations, improvements to shelter, and some supportive services, rapid rehousing, which is one of the components that we also use it for. We have historically used a portion of these ESG funds to help support the city's share of shelter operations, which we are proposing for this year also. And then there'll be about 60,000 going towards some additional rapid rehousing. And that is the end of my very exciting presentation. And I open it up to any questions.
All right, thank you, Monica. I think it was exciting. It was helpful. Thank you very much.
It's exciting stuff,
I know
but it's
some
kind of
people
dry.
not think it's exciting, but I think we all find it very, very useful. So don't ever feel that way. Okay, any questions of Monica? Thought you did a great job. That being said, no questions. I'm going to send it Councilman Reese. Give me a motion.
Move to approve.
I have a motion. I second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries unanimously. Great job, Monica. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Okay, moving right along. Madam Clerk.
Yes, Madam Mayor, moving on to item C4. This is the item, as Manager Thornley had identified, that we would request that council open the public hearing, and then we will set it to a time and date certain to avoid the cost of renoticing.
Fantastic. Okay, let the record reflect that the City Council is opening the public hearing. Madam Clerk, was any proper notice given and any proper notice given, any correspondence received?
Madam Mayor, proper notice was given. We received 8 letters of opposition. Additionally, we do have voicemails on this item. Council is not taking action. However, you can listen to them if you would like at this time for the record.
Should we listen to them now or should we wait until we actually hear the item?
My recommendation, because council is not taking final action today, would be that we move these forward to the next time when we hear this, and we can group all the voicemails together at that time.
Okay, that would be great.
And
anyway,
Madam Mayor?
Yes, go ahead.
I do have some comments before I
Sure.
make a motion on that.
Okay, so, but I want everyone to know we are going to continue that, and I would send it to you, Councilwoman Dewar, to also make that motion.
Yeah.
Sounds
good. So we all know, I just wanted to say that I had a chance to talk to Mr. Thornley and review all the letters, and we all know how important it is to get the zoning right. We've had recent experiences where we were in a box with zoning, and we have to assume that the highest intensity will be developed in areas. If we approve a zoning, we have to assume that the highest intensity zoning will be evaluated, that we have to separate the project from the zoning. It's important to get it right. Unfortunately, the zoning that was proposed by the applicant here is the highest intensity residential we have, which is MF 30. And the master plan says that this intensity should be at intersections and other intensely developed areas, which this is not. And so it's also surrounded by lower intensity development, so including single family homes. And since the time of the Planning Commission, new information has surfaced, which does not appear to have been addressed by staff and by the Planning Commission. They didn't have that benefit of that. And I got to credit those who wrote in and raised some process issues and also some compatibility issues. So of most importance probably is that our own staff had evaluated this upzoning. After the master plan was done, Sienna Reed, who wrote the master plan, evaluated this project and recommended not this zoning that the applicant recommended, or is requested, but professional office. And so I don't think that the planning commission or we had benefit of that information, that historical information. Several other things have happened. We have pending ordinance development that we approved last meeting, which does not specifically address this one, but it provides a different context that says we already know we have to allow some lower zoning within the suburban mixed use. And we also said we approved our staff to move forward with a neighborhood outreach plan, of which I had asked that this area be included with the convention center. And so we know that's coming as well. So given all of that, what I'm asking and making a motion to continue this is that we give the staff the opportunity to work with the applicant to reevaluate the proposal, the analysis that was done, bring us a fresh staff report that addresses all of these issues and incorporates, all of the compatibility and consistency issues, and takes a hard look at the master plan, which is very specific on suburban mixed use and says what's appropriate. So with that, I would recommend a continuance with the understanding of what our staff are going to do. Mr. Thornley, you suggested a May 28th, I think, date.
May 26th.
26th date. And that would be fine. Would that give you the time that you need and also be within the timeframes?
Well, I mean, I think the recommendation on the 26th is that we have an appeal of the tentative map that was associated with the bundle of applications that went to the Planning Commission. And so pushing the rezoning out beyond the tentative map appeal creates a strange due process issue in the middle of it for the applicant. And so I don't know that we necessarily have the time to do all of the things that you just asked us to do, but we certainly have the time to get started and carve out a path.
Yeah, I mean, you can talk with the applicant, discuss the options, come up, see where they want to be, and then we can move that forward. Okay, but I'm just saying for the record right now, it doesn't appear to be consistent with our master plan, what they've requested. So I just wanted to make sure I put that on the record. Okay. Okay, well, that's my motion, is to continue it then. Did you say May 26th? Okay. And Madam Clerk, do we have to say a time certain?
Yes, please, Councilmember Dewar, if we could make it 5:26 at 10 a.m., which is our standard time for public hearings, that would be appreciated.
Let me just ask though, before we set that time, Mr. Thornley, you said that one of the things that this needed to be, or that was influencing this timing is the appeal. Would it be better to set it at the same time as the appeal? I mean, what are you recommending there?
So I'm recommending that we treat it the same as we would today, which would be the 10 o'clock hearing.
Okay, thank you. All right, then I would recommend that we continue it to our next meeting, May 26th at 10 a.m.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries unanimously. Okay, Madam Clerk, right back at you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Moving on to our next item. This is an attorney item, item D1, discussion and potential approval of authorization to settle a lawsuit. Turn it over to City Attorney Carl Hall if there's any questions, or you can take a motion. There's no public comment.
Okay, thank you. At this time, Mr. Hall, do you have any comments that you'd like to add?
We're recommending that council approve this settlement of tort caps. This was a vehicle pedestrian accident, and we believe that this is the best path forward to resolve this case.
Okay, thank you very much. Any questions from council? Seeing that there, I have a motion. Do I have a second? Second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries unanimously. All right, Madam Clerk, I believe we're going into item D2, and we would send it right back to you, Mr. Hall.
That is correct. Just to note for the record, we do have one voicemail in public comment on this item before council takes a motion.
Okay, I will send it over to you in just a second. Go ahead, Mr. Hall.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Everyone is very familiar with this case. As you know, we have 3 plaintiffs over in district court. That case has been appealed to the Nevada Supreme Court, and there's also 27 cases pending in federal district court. This proposed settlement would resolve all cases, and we're recommending that council vote to approve this settlement. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. May I get a motion?
Move to approve.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Madam Mayor, we will listen to voicemail before you call for the question.
Sorry, Ashley.
That's all right. I'll make sure it happens no matter what. You do have a motion and second on the table. We'll circle back.
Yep. Perfect. Thank you. You're fantastic.
Ashley, please delete my first message. This is Tammy Holt Still, and this is for D2 for Wednesday. I am saying that it's about time that the City of Reno Council finally approves this minimal payment of $4.5 for all the residents after the 2017 flood. What I am upset about is the fact that it is the same amount of the settlement that it was originally given to the city back in 2019 in September. The price of all of the building products have gone up 75%. People have been out of their homes since 2017, and to be held off for this period of time not to get on with their lives is absolutely disgusting, rude, and anything else that you can think of in the vocabulary. I also believe that it should have been the 4.5 plus interest from September of 2019 to current, so that they actually could maybe break even with the cost to repair their homes that you caused, and you lost the trial, and it has been proven. Now it's time for the City of Reno to get their act together and to actually represent the people, not special interests, not developers, especially in the North Valleys. It's time to find a representative who will actually represent the people instead of all of the development. Crying over having to deny a project that was not fit for an area is an unfit representative for the people. Please, this has got to stop. The City of Reno needs to start doing the right thing. Thank you for your time. I hope you all have a wonderful life, but you're not done out here, and there will be another flood and there will be another lawsuit because you haven't done anything to correct the situation. Not a thing.
Okay. All right, Madam Clerk.
Madam Mayor, you do have a motion and a second on the table. We'll just call for the vote at this time.
Okay, thank you. All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Okay, right back at you, Madam Clerk.
All right, Madam Mayor, transitioning to our next item. This is a brief presentation from Rebuilding Together Northern Nevada. Katie Pace will be presenting.
Okay, Katie, how are you? I don't see you up on the screen yet, but I imagine we will get you moved over pretty quickly.
She is transitioning over right now. And Monica Cochran is available to give her a brief introduction before she begins her presentation.
Okay, go ahead, Monica.
Good morning again, Monica Cochran for the record. Oh, there she is. Well, I'm just here to introduce Katie because she's going to give us a presentation on her amazing program. So I will take it away, Katie. Let her go.
Well, thank you so much. Am I able to share the screen, or is the clerk going to share?
You are able to share your screen, Katie. You should be able to click the button and then your presentation will come up so you can advance your own slides. If you do have tech issues, let us know and we can bring it up.
I don't see believe me, I've been doing a lot of Zoom calls. I don't see my share screen. Would you mind?
Nope, absolutely. We'll go ahead and pull up your presentation on our end. And if you can just let us know to advance the slides for you, we will do so.
Great. Well, thank you, Madam Mayor. I really appreciate the time to meet with you all and talk to you about our new program that we are off and running. We're super excited that Rebuilding Together Northern Nevada is here. Our mission is repairing homes, revitalizing communities, and rebuilding lives. And our vision is safe homes and communities everywhere. Next, please. Next, please, if you might. Great. Rebuilding Together is a national nonprofit. They are the leading nonprofit to repairing homes and revitalizing communities. There's 130 chapters around the United States. Las Vegas has a very nice big chapter, been around for about 25 years. Nationally, they've served over 6 million people. Over 4 million volunteers have been mobilized to do this work. And one of the really neat things about the impact is that our neighbors are able to age in place, and we're able to provide that service to them. Next. So we are going to be serving older adults, veterans, people with disabilities, families with children, and victims of natural disasters as well, for low to moderate income neighbors. Next. To be eligible for our program, you must be a homeowner. Your mortgage must be current, your property taxes current, and you must have homeowner's insurance. We will collect other documentation, identification, bank statements, proof of insurance, and we will be looking at income of 80% AMI unless a grant has other requirements, maybe 60% and whatnot. And we'll also collect proof of income. Next. Really excited to share some of these pictures of our own work. We received our 501c back in April during the pandemic. And our first projects really started in January. And you'll see here that we are able to provide safety, improve physical health and mental health, help with their asset, upward mobility, foster independence, and increase community connection. Our gal there waving, she was not able to get into her bathroom for 2 years. She couldn't cross the threshold without the fear of falling through the floor. So we were able to secure her floor, put linoleum tile down, secure her toilet, and she is so happy to have this repair. The other couple, the gentleman is in a wheelchair, we were able to provide them with a new water heater. And Peg on the corner, we provided her with a new roof. And then Carolyn, she had quite a few little projects, but one of the projects is a new lock on her front door. She was using a chair to keep her house secure. So just the sense of this, what we're able to do is really rewarding, and our neighbors are able to live and age in place. Next. And as I said, what we're going to do is repair homes. We are following our 8 principles of healthy homes, which is a national program. And when we do an assessment in a home, we will be looking at 25 critical health and safety priorities. So they might be calling us for a plumbing issue or an electrical issue, but we'll still look at the whole house and provide recommendation. And if we're able, we would also provide the repairs at no cost to the homeowner. So we really feel like we're going to be able to revitalize our community and help rebuild lives. Next. Here's just the 8 principles of a healthy home. I think we all agree that our homes need to be dry and clean, pest-free. They need to be safe, contaminant-free, well-ventilated, kept maintained, and thermally controlled. So those are some of the quick features to a healthy home. Next. And here's just some quick information of how you can get a hold of us. We have a website to where our application is, or we can take applications over the phone. We can mail an application. Our phone number is there, my email address, and our main email. And I'd be happy to take some questions.
All right. Well, Katie, that is fantastic. I love the program. I think it's so beneficial and so well deserved and needed. Great job. All right. Any questions from council members? Go ahead, Councilman Delgado.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It's great to see you again, Katie.
Nice to see you.
It's great I know that I had a chance to hear the presentation and talk to them, and I know it's something that we should, of course, support. It's really much mirrors what we've been doing in-house with the neighborhood renewal program, and where we have taken up some barriers at times in terms of finding good subcontractors to work on behalf of the city and working with a lot of our homeowners. I think it kind of plays into the conversation we had a little bit earlier with the council with respect to just housing in general. Nothing's more important and easier is to keep people housed in their current circumstances in a safe place before they get into that crisis mode where they're having to find a motel or something, other types of commute. So great job, Katie. I'm glad that we're able to bring this. Glad you were able to bring that program to us, and I look forward to hopefully supporting this and moving forward with you and working with you. I know our community would definitely benefit from it. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
And thank you, Councilman Delgado, because I know you have really worked hard on these initiatives. I mean, they're so good. They really are. They're fantastic. So Katie, let us know how we can support you in whatever you need from us. Go ahead, Councilman Reese.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Ms. Pace, thank you for the presentation. I know it's something we've talked about for a long time, and I just want to share with my colleagues, Ms. Pace approached me about a year and a half ago, almost 2 years now, just with the idea and with the sort of seed being germinated. And it's really exciting to see all the work that Katie and your board have put into getting this organization launched here locally. Obviously, it is a national organization with many affiliates, but to have it here is really something very special and something to be celebrated. And Ms. Pace, that is due to your hard work and tenacity. For my part, I've spoken to Ms. Cochran, and Ms. Cochran knows that I believe that there's a way for the city to come alongside you and support you in your efforts while supporting our community. And so whatever we can do as a community together, I think we can see it's kind of like, the different kinds of groups that can come alongside one another and help each other to better succeed as organizations. So you have a nonprofit group, you have the city as a government. I've encouraged Ms. Pace and really tried to focus on getting some of our labor groups to connect in the trade labor unions, and the carpenters specifically have been very gracious. And so we've got this kind of thing going where we're getting everybody who has a particular skill set together to do a thing. So, government can't do it all alone and doesn't always do it the right way or timely. And so by working with the nonprofit sector, the government, faith-based groups, the labor groups, I think we can really do something special. And as Councilmember Delgado said, this is about allowing people to stay in their homes and making sure that the homes that they have are there and available for them and are safe, whether that's small things like adding a grab bar in the bathroom, or if it's a big thing like making sure flooring is sufficient to hold the weight of a person, and the safety and security that comes from making sure someone has a lock on their door. So I hope that our council will be able to come alongside you, Ms. Pace, and work very diligently to see your organization succeed, and that as we have funds available through either blight or renewal funds or CDBG funds, that we would be able to deploy them with you in a way that is meaningful both to your organization and our community. At the end of the day, I think some of the neighborhoods really need much more help than others. And so in the coming years, it'll be my hope, and Councilmember Delgado and I have spoken about, doing the kinds of work days and coming out as a community and making sure that we are connecting with one another. COVID has certainly been challenging for our ability to connect on that kind of deep personal level. But as we emerge from it, I hope to see all of us out there with, gloves on, shovels ready, helping in whatever way we can. So thank you for the presentation. Thank you for being patient and getting it here after, a long path to get here. You really do deserve all the credit. So thank you.
Thank you. Well, I have to say, sort of on that note, we recently had our first National Rebuild Day, it was a great success. We helped 2 homeowners. We had about 50 volunteers. Actually, Prominence Health came out with 28 volunteers to the project. So we were able to help a family in Reno and a family in Sparks. It was a really nice event. Everyone was so anxious to volunteer. And I think we did a really great job for our inaugural event. And then we're going to be doing these things on a daily basis. It's not just going to be once or twice a year, but we will be out coordinating the efforts of contractors, volunteers, corporations for funding. And I certainly hope that we will be able to work with the city of Reno and either referrals or funding or whatever that might be to help our neighbors. It's very important.
Katie, can I ask one question? I'm just sort of curious. Does your program in any way, or because this is a national program, right?
Right. So they're affiliated chapters, but the national organization provides lots of support. They also have some various grant funding opportunities that the chapters then apply for.
I think it's so critical and it's such important work. I guess my question would be, Katie, do you know of any of your chapters that also work with housing authorities in some way? Because I would think there is some relationship there that would be very beneficial on several fronts. I mean, if we can keep people in their own homes, then I think that we reduce the amount of people that go into public housing. And I think there's small things like you talked about. I mean, just adding guardrails or things like that, right? Because we tend to see people end up in public housing too for other services of things like that. So would that be beneficial? And do you have relationships like that? Because I'd love to be able to put that relationship in place.
Yeah, actually, we've met with Amy and starting those conversations with the Reno Housing Authority and trying to figure out, where the fit is. And certainly, I think it's important to try to keep our folks in their homes and not in the rental market. If their home is, if it's not safe for them, or maybe that they just haven't been able to maintain it because they're on a fixed income. If we can come in and help with whether it's a flooring or a roof repair or plumbing, just to keep them safe in their home and comfortable. But yes, we can work with the housing authority.
I think that's great. So what I'll do is I'll put a presentation so the rest of the board can get familiar with that, so we can be supportive of you.
Right.
And get the ball rolling. But I love it, and thanks for the great work. That it's super awesome.
Thank you.
Good job. Okay, any other questions? Seeing that there are none, I'm going to hand it over. Councilman Reese, give me a motion, please.
Madam Mayor, you actually don't need to take a motion.
Oh, yeah.
Correct.
I thought on here it said we needed to.
This one we do not. You're not agendized for that, so we can actually just scooch on over to the next item if you would like. Item D4.
All right.
Could Madam Mayor?
Go ahead, Councilwoman Breckus.
Point of order. When we got to item business licenses, there was a cabaret license that I had asked for some additional information to be provided. Staff, I know we have new staff down there, but as the council knows, when there is a special use permit associated with a license, we've asked them to bring forward those special use permits to attach, because those are often have governing operational parameters. And when I met with Manager Thornley on Monday, I asked for I knew there was a special use permit for this property. It's been vacant since the pandemic. And it didn't get in my inbox, and I did not see it on the portal. But I also, upon review, see an inconsistency in what we approved for the cabaret license and what are the parameters for the special use permit. This is for a bar, for not live entertainment. There's a new housing project going on across the street. I just really want to have understanding on the record of what the business operations and characteristics were. So I was wondering if we could reconsider that and have Mr. Thornley or business licensing address the questions that I have, and provide clarification. I don't want to continue it for 2 weeks because I don't know if this bar owner's trying to, get open with the openings, but I think that we've got an unclear record and it could lead to neighborhood problems later on if we don't address it today. So I'm asking if we could reconsider B1A2.
Okay, so Manager Thornley and City Clerk Ashley Turney, can you give me direction on, I'm assuming we would take a motion to reconsider, and then we could also vote on the motion again.
That's correct, Madam Mayor.
The difficulty, though, is we don't have the information I don't have the information at my fingertips to prepare you to take an affirmative motion beyond the reconsideration. So the rules would allow you can reconsider it now, you can reconsider it at the next regularly scheduled meeting. My preference would be that we take this as direction to put on the agenda reconsideration and the affirmative and the potential for affirmative voting on that license on the 26th.
The only thing is I guess I get concerned when we have businesses and we're holding them up. I guess. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. The police check is still pending, and so it's not going to issue today. But if we get to the end of the agenda, we can take a quick break and I can run down to the second floor and we can take half an hour to sort this out.
Okay.
So, Madam Mayor, if I can help maybe come in with a recommendation while City Manager Thornley talks to the community development staff that's necessary to hopefully answer Councilmember Breckus's question. My recommendation would be that we keep going with our agenda during that time. If there is a motion to reconsider, a thing to note is that was included in the rest of the consent agenda. So we do need to make sure that we are keeping our motions on track, which I will also do. But my recommendation, if City Manager Thornley is comfortable, is we move on to item D4 and have Director Lochner give her presentation. And then we will ensure that before we adjourn the meeting, we circle back with a resolution so that way we can keep us on the rails.
Okay, so no motion at this time, and then we'll move forward for Ms. Lochner, and then we can get to Councilwoman Breckus's questions. But at this time, we've already voted on it, so we'll move forward. Okay, go ahead. Sending it right back to you, Madam Clerk. I guess, Debbie, the floor, Ms. Lochner, sorry. The floor is yours. Go ahead. Great to see you.
Good to see you. Well, good to not see you, but you can always call me Debbie. That's fine.
Well, I'll call you Ms. Lochner, and Councilman Weber reminds me, so I apologize. I got to make sure I'm being appropriate. But anyway, great to see you. Go ahead.
Well, it's better than some things I get called, so we'll just go with that.
Me too.
I hear you. Right. I do have a brief presentation, a little update on the budget, and then some information on room tax. So I will go ahead and share that presentation with you. We'll go through it. Feel free to ask questions. So the first part is really a follow-up to the budget study session. So how the current budget, the budget that we will be presenting to you next week for adoption, includes a property tax increase of 5.5%, C-tax increase of 4.5%. It has the funding for the Public Safety Center and the Moana Pool, those capital projects. There are increases for contracted services. There is $1 million contingency fund, and there's an increase of our fund balance, budgeted fund balance, from 12% to 13%. I will remind the council that this budget does have a structural deficit of $2.7 million. We also include fully funding our OPEB according to the budget guiding principles, increasing our funding to fleet risk and workers' compensation, also per guiding principles. The budget does include 21 new positions. It includes increasing the minimum wage for our part-time employees to $11 an hour. It does not include a fee increase for that. at this point in time. Director Schroeder may come back in July to discuss some increases in facility rentals, but we're still working on that. In addition, there is one-time funding in this contract for digitization of records. You heard from the city clerk. Fire turnouts, the digital platform for Reno Direct, which you heard about from Director Rebecca Venus yesterday. And then it also includes the community outreach coordinator and forensic services as new programs or expanded programs. The budget deficit is funded with our estimated current year ending fund balance, which would be savings of our expenditures and some of our revenues coming in higher than we have anticipated. In addition to that, we have the ARPA funds, which are available to replace our room tax funds, and I will get to that in a few minutes. And that will allow us to not have to transfer funds from the general fund C-tax to back the event center debt. We will be able to replace the room tax revenues and make our June payment with those revenues. So our recommendation for the budget is, first of all, we discussed the budget with the Financial Advisory Board last week. They recommend that we approve the budget, and they recommend that we balance the budget by not adjusting any of the long-term liabilities that we are funding in this budget. So again, we will be using expenditure savings and some revenues that are coming in a little greater than expected to balance this budget. And then our public hearing again is next week. So if there are any questions on that, I'm happy to answer them, but I also have some information for you on the ARPA funds and the room tax. If you recall, we discussed council room tax and special events. So what we have been allocated from the ARPA funds, $51,519,997. Those funds can be used to support public health expenditures, address negative impacts caused, economic impacts, replace lost revenue, provide premium pay, and invest in water, sewer, and broadband infrastructure. Overall, what we did is there's a, in the guidance, there's a calculation you look at the last full year of what your revenues were, and then you take the average of the prior 3 years, and you can increases over the prior 3 years, and you can use the average of your increase or the federal increase nationwide of 4.1%. So that is what the guidelines say. Our revenues actually grow at a greater rate than the federal government rate of 4.1%. As you can see, we show the percent change in each of the last 3 years. So when we do the calculation, we look at our actuals of what we received in fiscal year 20, which was last fiscal year. You have to wait until your year is completed and audited before you can do the calculation. We applied a 7.7% increase to the last full fiscal year. So our revenues anticipated for 2020 would have been just about $3.2 million. So overall, we're showing about a $950,000 loss to this revenue source. What we are recommending is that we reallocate the $443,000 to the affordable housing program that the council previously rescinded in order to make their budget balance for fiscal year 20. And then the remaining amount of $500,000 could be available for council to appropriate to support special events, or there could be $72,000 per council member to support events or community happenings within their ward or throughout the city, as the case may be. So the benefit is we do get to replace the lost revenue. This will not only affect this particular room tax, but our other room taxes that are pledged for debt, which will allow us to make our debt payments without having to use supplemental funds such as reserves and then making disclosures out on the bond market. The ARPA funds will allow us to replace those and make those debt service payments come June 1st. And we are anticipating that we will receive those funds within 10 days of our application, and our application has been filed. So those funds, as I said before, can be used to support special events or can be provided directly to benefit wards that are experiencing some hardship or community events within the wards. So our recommendation is that council approve us to, in our next augmentation, include the $948,000 of revenue to replace the room tax and reallocate the $443,000 of those funds to affordable housing. And then we would await direction from council on the other $500,000 if you would like to put that back into special events, or if you would like to, have the additional funds applied to each council member. So that is what I have for you today.
Sorry, I apologize. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can now.
Okay, go ahead. Madam Vice Mayor, I'm going to hand it back to you for items on the agenda, and I will jump in, but I'm having some technical issues here. Okay. Oh, you're on mute.
Thank you.
Okay, perfect. Thanks.
Difficulties as well, apparently. Thank you. Council Member Reese.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. I just want to say thank you, Ms. Lochner, for the presentation. Very informative. Obviously, I think that some of the issues that we face are just lack of technical guidance out of DC. And so it's now starting to catch up with, quite frankly, all of our ideas about what to do with funds. At the end of the day, no matter how many funds were allocated, is going to be less than we can find ways to spend it. It's the nature of trying to stretch a blanket that's a bit too small. You know, we've all had that experience. I like your approach, and so I would be supportive of both the first recommendation, the second one, and although you didn't have a third recommendation, I think it would be my preference to see the $500,000 reallocated through each of the council members. Ultimately, my hope is that the council members, and because I am the at-large member, and that would be my role, would be to bridge the entire city and community, that I would be in a position to work with each of my colleagues to support their efforts within their wards, if ultimately that is what the body desires to see done. And so I'm excited about it because I do think it gives us some opportunities to really make some good choices for the entire city. And that would be impactful. So while your recommendation really only had the first two parts and you were looking for additional direction, I simply believe that we could go all in on all three of the ideas that you proposed, and it would, really achieve good things for the community. So thank you for the presentation. Thank you for the recommendations. I would just go one step further and take it as you have kind of hypothetically identified it, but to have those funds go ward by ward and council member by council member.
Thank you. Councilwoman Jordan.
Thank you very much. I guess I have a question to Ms. Lochner. I didn't quite understand the special events portion. The rest of it I'm supportive of. I think replenishing the Affordable Housing Fund is really smart. That really did afford us to be nimble and do things like the Sage Street project and some other things that otherwise we wouldn't have had the funds to do and act so quickly. And that has really been successful. I guess my question is on the special events part, without having the spreadsheet in front of us that shows like we talked about yesterday, going off of last year's grants to the special event promoters at the percentage in which we did. So I think that bucket of money was about $400,000 around there.
Yeah.
So are you proposing that that go away and the 72 go to each council member? Because I will tell you, if that's the proposal, and let's say my 72, I say it all goes back into helping to offset some of these special events, it wouldn't even offset the percentage of the money amount that was for Hot August Nights. I mean, no others. I think special events, I'm trying to understand if it was a plus or if it was a either or.
Well, it's an either or a combination of. So we have $500,000. I believe the cut was around 360,000, if I recall. It
For
was
special events,
which was the support for the departments that support special events, wasn't the sponsorship money directly. So again, that's it is the council's direction we're looking for on whether you would like to restore that about, I think it was around $370,000 to put so that we instead of absorbing the special event work within the departments, that they would actually get reimbursed for their overtime. But again, that is the council's choice on how you would like that $500,000 to be put into this budget. And we heard two things when we were talking about special events. One thing we heard was we want to restore the budget. And another thing we heard was we want the money to go individually to each council member. So this is where you guys get to give us direction on what the body would like here.
Okay, and without having the spreadsheet of what the impacts, so I will tell you, this could have large ramifications to the special events in the action and the comments we made just yesterday saying, hold the line and do what we did last year. Without having that in front of us, I think just saying, yes, we'd all like this $72,000 allocation. If we aren't somewhat on the same page that we're also going to use those funds to support the offset, there's real consequence to that. So, and I know you're trying to get to that, but without having that in front of us and giving an example of an art town or of a, Hot August Nights or some of the major events. And if we take that money away and we all don't agree that we're going to plug that hole for them, that could be a real issue.
Thank you, Councilmember Jordan. Councilwoman Doer, can you hold a moment because Councilwoman Breckus is next up, and then we'll go right to you.
Yeah, I mean, I do think that it was a response into our inquiry of more discretionary, which I do support. Now, whether or not we want to put some parameters on those, as some jurisdictions do, is a further discussion. A lot of jurisdictions say you only can use them for, hard capital in a city because they want to make sure that it's not going here or there. We allow broadly to nonprofits, but if we increase the amounts, we might want to start talking about how we're going to do that. But there could be implications on those special events, as Ms. Jordan said, that are teed up this year. But then maybe not. We don't know because we really haven't sat and reconvened with them. And some of them, we just don't know where they're at. And they were told to move forward with their planning, but don't include us in it. So, I think maybe there's a balance we could find to do what she's thinking about is, I think we got a calendar invite yesterday for a special events meeting next week someday. I don't know. I see my colleagues nodding. So, maybe we could kind of hold this up. The question I had is the affordable housing. I feel like, and maybe I was confused earlier, we have so many different buckets for affordable housing. And obviously the ones that we bring out of our own revenue, which are slim, are the most unrestricted because like we use for Sage Street. But with the ones with the developers, where we've got a trust over there, we're putting general fund, we've got a lot of this federal fund. I would maybe like Ms. Lochner just to understand what buckets we have for housing and the restricted nature and what we have set aside, because I've lost track of it all. And sometimes I think technical assistance is good rather than just hard capital dollars. Technical support. I know the feds require us to fund, they're called CHABs for nonprofits to kind of get them going in gel to do stuff like housing. But I don't know, maybe there's a middle ground. We could reconvene next week on the special events committee and then hold this decision until then. Does anyone remember when we're meeting? I don't see it on my calendar.
Just trying to look for it.
Okay. I'll yield the floor now.
Thank you. Councilwoman Dorr.
Yeah, I want to support both my colleagues that just spoke, Councilwoman Jordan and Councilwoman Breckus. I had the very same immediate thought. Sure, I'll take some money, but I really said, wow, what impact will this have on special events? I mean, you know, what if I want to support the balloon race and Councilwoman Jordan does too? I mean, you know, that kind of thing. Like, we need to coordinate this and make sure that we understand what is being funded and what isn't being funded. Like, is there a base level of funding for special events? And then we're taking some to have discretionary. So I really felt like before I can make that decision, I need this spreadsheet that Councilwoman Jordan was speaking of immediately. And on Councilwoman Breckus, my thought was as well, I had the same question about affordable housing. That's such a broad term. I was very unclear of what are we putting it into, like what part of affordable housing. So I'm sure you have answers to all these things, but I just wanted to register thank you to my other colleagues, because this is exactly immediately where I was.
Thank you. Anyone else? Go ahead.
We're meeting Thursday at 2:30, the subcommittee.
Yes.
Is that tomorrow?
No, next Thursday.
Next 20th.
I mean, Mr. Thornley, is that, I would like to get the input of this committee. They've just spent some time or about to spend time evaluating all of this and get a recommendation from them before we decide, frankly.
So I think my recommendation would be to hold the status quo for the fiscal year, have the committee do the work and make adjustments in the next fiscal year.
Or even this fiscal year based on what they observe in, you know, like they might make recommendations about this year. And I mean, yeah.
Councilman Reese.
Madam Mayor, and through to Ms. Lochner, is there a way to do both? Right? I think Mr. Thornley's suggestion is a merger of the ideas. I think ultimately there are sufficient funds to do both the special events that are, we'll call them legacy events or existing on the table events, and also to really invest in our wards in a very significant way. And I guess what I was suggesting, and perhaps did not convey quite as well as I had hoped, was that, you know, there are events that need assistance. There are happenings within the wards, but what sometimes is not available is the financial wherewithal to carry them out. Obviously, we have some small funds through council directed funds, but they get used up fairly quickly and oftentimes are going to nonprofits working within the wards. But the concern that was raised primarily by Councilmember Delgado and created some of this conversation was that sometimes, you know, the events occur in a ward far removed from where we are or where we represent, and that we're trying to find ways to bring those events and activities really closer to the people. So in my mind, there must be a way to really do both of those, support some of the larger, call them community events, and that would be the ongoing issues that the Special Events Committee can really speak to, but also find the money within these allocations to do it. And I sort of misunderstood, Ms. Lochner. I sort of understood that you said that we had not gutted the events budget, that it existed, and that this was additional to that. And that was, I think, where I was disconnected from ultimately the idea process. So if I've missed it, Ms. Lochner or Mr. Thornley, can you reposition us to have an informed conversation about it?
So we did in the discussion on special events that we had, I don't remember which day this week, but there was a discussion of one specific line item that was reduced about in half. And that's the line item we're discussing. That's the line item that provides for the overtime for police, fire, and public works in support of the events. So that is the amount, is while those departments will still support events because that's what we do, they just will not get reimbursed for their overtime as they have in the past. So that, again, I think what we should do is maybe have a larger conversation. We won't be able to get it into the fourth quarter augmentation, but we can certainly get it into the first quarter augmentation next fiscal year. And so maybe after your break, having a larger discussion about special events, what's been approved, what the budget is, and what you want to do with this remaining amount of money. I think we can do that after your break and still be okay. Because again, you have half that budget, and if we get it into that first augmentation, we still will be okay.
Right, so my original position was we could do the 2 recommendations that you've made, and we could do the third, which was the idea. Are you saying we can't do both? We can't do support the special events and have council directed funds increased?
We can, it just won't be $72,000.
I see.
So there's a pot of $500,000 that could either go, part of it could go back to bring that special events budget back up whole, or you can each have $72,000 of
But
that.
this is where I don't understand the connection, Ms. Lochner, and I'm sorry to belabor the point. You're just saying as an accounting function, you need a way to pay those other departments for their support for the special events. And where you're doing that is through this fund.
That's how it's been done in the past, but that's not necessarily, who knows what's the right way to do this. Should we just build it into our budgets that the departments support special events? Yes, that would be more appropriate. We have not done that yet, and it's an incremental to get there. So while it's cut in half this year, the support to those departments will still support special events. They'll still do the same things they do. They just won't get reimbursed for their overtime. And so there may be some issues there later in the year that we will have to address some overtime within those departments.
Gotcha. Now it's more clear to me. Now, thank you for that, because the concern was that somehow we were going to gut the air races or the art town or something by doing a thing today. And we all didn't want to do that with unintended consequences. Thank you so much.
Welcome.
Thank you. I'll go next to Councilwoman Jordan, then I'll come to you, Councilwoman Breckus. Go ahead.
Thank you very much. Yeah, okay, thank you for asking that question, Councilmember Reese, because I was mildly confused by it as well, but I understand now. Okay, well, to me, it seems like the path forward is to support items 1 and 2 that you have proposed, and then keep, move forward with the special events, funding to the level that we did with the group's input, the special events subcommittee input as we move forward, but with further discussion on us getting individual council member funds as we move forward. Okay, now I understand. All right, thank you. So nobody's losing out today. We're just trying to figure out in one accounting function and at what time we do what. Okay, I get it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Breckus.
Yeah, I mean, I think the people who are losing out are part-time employees who are stuck at $9.75 an hour under this proposal. And the $500,000 for affordable housing, we don't have a project lined up for that. And I think it was $400,000 to move those people up to $11 an hour. And that represents, for someone who works 20 hours a week, about $1,300. And that's 2 rent payments for those folks. I mean, you have tax, but if you calculate out, certain parameters of, rent burden, that's 2 rent payments for our own people. And, taking care of our own is very important. And I just, when we hear, well, a lot of these are students and so on, students are struggling. That's why there's the cancel college debt movement, because so many college students are starting their working lives with a lot of debt. And if we're identifying that these are college students, we can get there for them. And I really would encourage the council today to say, no, let's take that money and let's move our folks up to the $11 an hour.
So as I said earlier in the first part of the presentation, this budget does move all those employees up to $11 an hour.
Oh, I'm sorry. I
Beginning
missed
in July, yes.
In July. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
With this budget.
The Rec 1 people.
This is, yes, this takes all the minimum wage for those recreation employees to $11 an hour without a fee increase to cover it. So this is included in the budget.
Oh, okay. Okay, thank you. I'm sorry, I misread that slide.
Thank you. Glad we got it clarified. Councilwoman Dewar.
Yeah. I had seen that we were moving them up to $11 an hour, but as you recall, what I said at the meeting the other day was, could we look at ways to either use other funds, whether it was the are we calling it ARPA or ARPA funds, or other funds, which this might be, to move them up even quicker, close this gap as quickly as possible instead of spreading it out so long. So it may be a filtering it through the other levels. I mean, I know we're bringing up the lowest level, but I didn't know if we were bringing everyone up the same amount. Okay.
Yeah, so in order to keep the pay structure, I believe Director Schroeder showed there's 6 different wages that go up across the board when you take the lowest level to $11.
Well, I wouldn't even be opposed to take the second step and, just try to get this done a little bit quicker, than this is huge what we're doing already without the fee increase, but here's another opportunity to even make a bigger dent, I guess, in the issue. So I would like you guys to consider that too. I mean, I think Councilman Bregas just made a really good point. These are people that are the lowest wage people around. I mean, and maybe they're living at home, maybe they're saving up so they can move out and get enough money like in their bank account to be able to live on their own, if they could even find a place to live or to share with others. So I think we need to continue looking at that issue, but I want to compliment you on that first big step of moving everyone to the 11, the base salary to the 11. That's incredibly important. And just again, is there a way we can even push a little further? Because to her point, we don't right now, and maybe what the best idea is for you to bring us back what these affordable housing boxes are or buckets are, and what each one's for. There's at least 3, I think, right now. Ours, developers, into the trust, and then stuff that we've put over into Reno Housing Authority. It would be good to get a better understanding of where this all sits, and if we could, in fact, help these lowest paid employees even more. So thank you.
Thank you. I have a question, and I think it's for the manager, Mr. Thornley, and I'm not sure if he is available for my question. But what I'm concerned about is we have our special events committee after we are adopting our budget. How will we be doing that?
I think that's a legitimate concern, right? So what we're looking for today is sort of guidance on, whether or not you want to reconstitute the entirety of the lost revenue in Debbie in this fiscal, Ms. Lochner, in this fiscal year from the ARPA funds. And then what policy would you like to see in the next fiscal year with respect to how we budget to support special events, and whether or not some portion of the allocation should result in increased council discretionary funds?
Okay, so we have to make the decision now before
Well, you don't have to make it now. This was an opportunity for us to be just a little cleaner headed into the budget. This was an opportunity that came up, and we got guidance, and the finance team got word of when the funds would be available to us. And so it's an opportunity that's available to us now. We don't have to do it now. We can wait a little bit and clean it up on the backside. It's just a little cleaner in terms of the budget process. But what I'm hearing is we're not prepared to make a decision today. And so I think the recommendation stands as to, let's see what the committee has to say next Thursday, and we can make the necessary adjustments in next fiscal year's budgets and through the augmentation process for this fiscal year.
I think that's great. Thank you. Other council members? I think we had a great presentation and lots of good work and things that we've asked for. I really appreciate the many requests, and it seems to me that most all of them were brought forward to us, and that we had great discussions on this. So Councilwoman Dewar.
Yeah, I have a question. Were we, the action that you want us to take today, is this just a review of where we are, or are you wanting us to take action? Because I know next week we have to take action.
You do not need to take action today. This was to bring forward just kind of a wrap up of the study sessions, and also to give you the information regarding the ARPA funds and the room tax related to special events, because that was a request and it's kind of complicated.
Okay, so at our meeting, the other day, I had asked a question specifically to Ms. Schroeder about the maintenance workers, the tree people, those kind of things. I didn't know if we had done any further analysis or we just left it as is. Since you're asking for a motion today, action today, I just wanted to, a number of us asked questions over the last 2 days, and you answering some of them, but I think I still had at least that one outstanding. And if there's no change, that's okay. I just wanted to get clarity.
We have not made any changes to that, so I don't know exactly what Director Schroeder needs to provide to you, because, again, it was, I would expect that if there were questions that came from her presentation, she would circle back and provide those answers to you.
Okay, so what I asked about was when you put up the complement of 21 additional staff, what I'd asked was just if she could take another look at that and evaluate the maintenance worker issue with the tree issue. And if you might remember, there was this whole discussion some time ago about working in teams and pairs. And I just asked to have that revisited when it came to the trees. So that's all. And if they haven't had a chance to do that, maybe they'll do it before they actually do the hiring.
Thank you, Councilwoman Dewar. Councilwoman Jardin.
Thank you very much. And thank you to City Manager Thornley and to Ms. Lochner. I do think this has been the best process-wise that we've done the budget. We're in a little bit of sausage making today, but it's really important sausage. And I think that the way you have kind of put it into buckets and areas in the things that we identified as the priorities, and then we're kind of chewing on each one, I think that's critically important. And I appreciate, as bumpy as this is in this moment right now, I think it has been very, very valuable, because there have been many, many instances where after the fact or on the day of adoption, things have burbled to the surface, and then it really becomes an 11th hour fire to be dealing with, and it doesn't seem to always end well. This is great. So I think what I'm hearing is, with regards to special events, we're going to move forward as we generally historically have done in the past. And we're going to fund things generally, historically, as we have done in the past for this thing in which we have to submit with a timeline. And then we will revisit after the special events meeting to talk about this additional amounts per council member and mayor, as well as kind of the future special events. And we will do adjustments, augmentations of a future budget. Is that Is that a fair assessment? Putting the money in the affordable housing fund and doing the other things, and everything else seems to be tied up. Is that buttoned up? Does that sound about right? Is that what you all are hearing? I'm seeing head nods. Okay, I just wanted to understand. All right, that's what I understood. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Second.
Do we need to have public comment, or have we already had public comment? I can't remember.
Madam Vice Mayor, you already called for it and we don't have any, so you can move forward.
Thank you. So there was a motion. What was the motion? I know there was a second, but why don't you make that the motion, Councilman Reese?
I think I was seconding Councilmember Jordan's well thought out motion.
Yeah, and can I throw in some discussion just for the?
Yeah, there's a motion and a second. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think as that agenda gets ready for the special events meeting next Thursday, it's probably not set yet, that there should be deliberation of this theme that the council is looking at, you know, forward, because we don't meet that often, maybe 4 times a year. Council's looking forward to reconsidering special events that are more ward-based or city-sponsored as a part of that. And we can just kick off that discussion so everyone's on the same page next week. And then we can report, this subcommittee can report to the body as we go forward. So that's more like discussion to the agenda setter for there. So thank you.
That's great. Okay, so there's a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The motion carries unanimously.
All right, Madam Vice Mayor, with that, moving on to item D5. This is an update from Callie Wilsey on the 2021 session. Should be noted, we have no public comment on this item, and I know she has a very brief presentation as she has hearings all day today.
Okay, that's great. Hey, Ms. Wilsey.
Good afternoon. All right, let's see. All right, Madam Vice Mayor, members of the council, for the record, Callie Wilsey with the City Manager's Office, here to provide an update on the legislative session. So today marks day 101. We're officially in the final stretch with 19 days left to go. But what that means is we have a lot of deadlines coming up. So this Friday is passage. Bills, unless they are exempted, must pass out of the committee of their second house. And next Friday, they must pass out of the full house, the second house that they are in, to continue to move forward in the process. That means we have very, very busy days testifying on bills and tracking amendments and making sure we are in communication with stakeholders and legislators working on bills we are tracking. So a few updates for you. AB 363, this is the short-term rentals bill that we talked about last time. The bill sponsor during the hearing presented an amendment that would make this bill only applicable to those jurisdictions in Clark County. If that amendment moves forward to the final bill, we would not be subject to the requirements in that bill. AB 116, we have talked about this several times, but this is the decriminalization of traffic offenses. This bill was up for hearing in Ways and Means last week, and we testified in opposition solely due to the fiscal impact that this bill could have. We did submit a revised fiscal note that had a downward projection of our impact based on some of the changes, and we're very thankful for the bill sponsor to continuing to work with us to try to make implementation of that policy effort work for courts across the state. Additionally, AB 146, after working with Assemblywoman Peters, we were able to remove our opposition to this bill that talks about regulations for pollution from diffuse water sources. The amendment that we worked with her on includes a requirement that NDEP would consider the technological and fiscal feasibility of local governments as part of their public hearing process. So we would be able to partake in that effort and just make sure that any regulations that are passed are considerate of what that means at the local level. SB 283 was also heard, was it? Yeah, no, must have been last week, getting my days confused. This is the bill that relates to our commercial property assessed clean energy bill, our program that we have in place. And we worked closely with the bill sponsor on the language in that, and we were able to support that bill moving forward. Assembly Bill 42, we testified in support of this bill that provides a statutory right to a municipal court to hold jury trials for a person charged with battery, which constitutes misdemeanor domestic violence and may prohibit a person from owning a firearm. The reason for this is it's coming out of case law in the last few years, and by putting it in statute really helps clarify that we are able to do that. There is a question about whether constitutionally we can have 6 jurors on that. The bill currently requires 12 because of some concerns being raised by legal staff at the legislature. And if that bill ends up being 12, it would lead to, we may have an additional fiscal impact to further make sure that our courtrooms can accommodate 12. AB 211, this is the bill that would require the Nevada Department of Wildlife to review tentative maps. We supported this bill last Friday during its hearing. There is an amendment to this bill that would allow NDOW to regulatory set some fees through the regulatory process based on that process. That's similar to the authority that is offered to other state agencies that review such maps. AB 301, this is a bill that we have been tracking, but we have been made aware of a potential amendment to this bill regarding, so the bill in and of itself kind of provides restrictions on towing for unregistered vehicles on private property. So not necessarily something that we always get involved in. But the amendment proposes to prohibit a private property owner from towing a vehicle on their property for being unregistered. As our understanding of this concept, a private property owner would continue to be able to tow a vehicle on their property for other purposes, such as abandoned vehicles or being immobile. And it would not impact our authority in terms of code enforcement, parking enforcement, or law enforcement. The reason I just bring this to council today is a note. We know that abandoned vehicles are one of the highest calls we get through Reno Direct. And so my conversations with Mr. Woodley from code enforcement was, if this amendment is narrowly defined as is, we don't anticipate a large impact kind of coming over to the city in our role. So we'll be keeping an eye on that amendment. Additionally, AB 388, this requires the state to establish a broadband ready community certification program in order to encourage the deployment of broadband infrastructure in underserved communities. Ultimately, it'd be voluntary for a local city or county to apply for this certificate. The requirements, however, the requirements in the bill are pretty prescribed, and we're working with the League of Cities. What we'd like to see is local government involvement in that process to determine what that program could look like and what would lead to that certification. SB 430 expands the types of facilities for which the Nevada Infrastructure Bank is authorized to provide loans and other financial assistance. And so it's expanded to include water and wastewater infrastructure, renewable energy infrastructure, recycling and sustainability infrastructure, digital infrastructure, social infrastructure, and other infrastructure related to economic development. So the governor's office really presented this bill and trying to expand what that bank could be used for. The city could ultimately end up applying for funding to that. This bill just kind of sets up the requirements of the bank. There is an oversight body that would dictate how the actual application process and requirements for projects. The other piece of this is that the bank needs to be funded. The governor's office has proposed in the budget to put $75 million in the bank to get it started. As we've kind of talked about through this session, SCR 11 is the bill related to innovation zones. This bill establishes a legislative committee to conduct a study of those innovation zones. It's currently written. A report would have to be provided by the end of this year related to those, and future legislation could come from that. The next one I wanted just to give you an update on is AB 424. This relates to pretrial release hearings and bail. It requires a court within 24 hours after a person has been taken into custody to hold a pretrial release hearing to determine the custody status of the person. The concern on this bill is the fiscal impact related to going to 24 hours in our court system. And we're continuously working with the bill sponsor on this to try to find ways to alleviate that fiscal impact. The bill is actually being heard right now. The bill does change. There's a proposed amendment to go to 48 hours. That would still have a fiscal impact on our court system. AB 368. This bill focuses mainly on state reporting requirements for tourism improvement districts, but there is an amendment that was presented yesterday during its hearing that would sunset the authorizing language for star bond tax increment financing. So today we are in a lot of work sessions where committees are voting out of bills. Just wanted to kind of give you a few of those that passed. SB 12, which relates to affordable housing and notification as projects expire. That passed out of committee this morning. SB 138, which is the bill that allows a local government to adopt an ordinance for minor modifications of PUDs, also passed out of committee this morning. SB 109, we talked about this last time, related to the collection of gender identity and sexual orientation data. Our amendment was included in the committee's action this morning that clarifies the role of law enforcement in that data collection process. And finally, SB 168. This bill allows for curbside pickup at cannabis facilities, but it includes some language that local governments, it doesn't prohibit a local government from having a local ordinance to address characteristics such as location or other components like that. So with that, there is still many hearings happening this afternoon, but I would happy to answer anyone's questions.
Members have questions? Councilmember Breckus.
Yeah, that towing bill, I was a little confused. So it prevents private property owners from towing cars on their property?
Sure. So the best example I can think is the example that we've been working through is like an apartment complex. So the proposed amendment is that like an apartment complex owner would not be able to tow a vehicle solely for the purpose of being unregistered. So if they're still parked in somebody else's spot or something along those lines, it wouldn't impact that authority. The reason we have it on our list and our tracking is what we've seen in the past is sometimes when there are severe limitations on what can be towed on private property from a private property owner, that tends to bleed over into our parking enforcement responsibilities. And with the resources that we have, we just want to make sure that that doesn't cause an undue burden.
Okay, I understand. And I mean, really on private property, it's not our concern unless it's blocking a fire lane or something. And then it is our concern, but we would still allow that. Okay. And then the star bonds, did we take a position on that amendment that gets those things going away? Because sales tax is one of our biggest revenue sources that we use for our government operations. So diversion of those can be problematic to us.
Sure. So we did not take a position. That amendment was introduced during the bill hearing as we were listening to it. So it was the first time we had heard about that amendment. So if council has input on that, we'd love to hear it.
What is the preliminary or the primary concept of the bill to do?
So the primary concept of the bill is it changed the reporting requirements for the state in terms of what information they were reporting annually on Starbond. So it didn't really have any kind of broad impacts, just in terms of what information they were reporting for those tax increment districts.
So does it still have the issue where you have to have half the people not be residents of the state? Is that still in there?
I would have to take a closer look at the bill, just because it was strictly reporting. It didn't change any function of how it worked. It was just what information was reported. The state had some issues about trying to understand the information the way it was collected, and they kind of wanted to de-aggravate that information to have it a little bit better understood.
So, here's my thinking is we're a council, those of us who came on in 12 and those of us who came on 14, who have been hampered by a lot of revenue diversion deals. And we even heard about one today, which is using a geo-backed bond for the debt payment on the event center, the ballroom, and the bowling stadium, which were going to be paid for by room tax revenue. And in upheaval of economic times, the general fund takes it. And the star bonds, they are called sales tax anticipation, help me out, sales tax and revenue. Yeah, so it takes sales tax revenue and puts it somewhere else other than a city's general fund. And if someone's trying to provide that protection from, people doing deals like those, which go on 20 years, I think we should say, yes, let's do that, because we've inherited some of these diversion deals that have complicated our ability to do business. And I think times are too austere to not be able to do that when we don't have the federal spigot on. So I'd like to propose that the council does support that amendment. I don't want to see sales tax going away. Does anyone have any thoughts on that? Or are they thinking it's okay to give away sales tax still?
Anyone wanting to comment? I don't hear any other comment.
Okay.
But good.
Yes, people find it okay to give sales tax to private people, but I hope the legislature has clear ideas on that.
I do too. Councilwoman Dorr.
Yeah, I'm just going to say I'm neither supporting nor agreeing. I don't think I understand enough about this issue, frankly. I mean, I understand star bonds, but I don't understand, since it's not in front of us, what the amendment exactly would have done. As Callie said, it was introduced during the hearings. They didn't have an opportunity to pre-review it. So I don't know that I support it or I'm opposed to it, or I just don't know enough about it. So, I mean, I don't know if Callie wants to explain it in any greater depth.
The information that we have at this point is it would just sunset the authority to kind of create new tax increment districts under that tool. Wouldn't impact existing ones, but it wouldn't be a tool or something that could happen in the future.
I mean, are you basically saying they would phase out star bond concept?
Yes.
And they would also phase out any future concepts, it sounds like, from what you just said. Not that they can bind future legislators.
It would sunset the authorization piece. So right now
For
we
star
have,
bonds.
Yep, you're correct.
Okay, are you opposed to that, Ms. Breckus?
No, I want to see them phased out. I don't believe that they should be a tool that exists. You cannot have it two ways. You cannot be.
I agree. I agree. You don't have to argue with me. I support it as well. I mean, maybe you're just saying we need to affirmatively support it at the legislature.
Yes.
And I'm fine with that direction.
Okay, so I'll move that we direct our ledge team to go support that amendment to that bill.
Okay, I'll second that.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? Council, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I think I'm kind of opposed, because I don't think that we should be moving forward on that right now with all of this. But I only see,
Well, let me do this on this if that motion doesn't go forward. I'll continue to keep the council in the loop. At this point, the bill has been heard, so it's scheduled for a work session, which doesn't have an opportunity for us to weigh in. That's kind of not how that process works at the state side. So I'll continue to keep you guys informed as that actual language comes forward with more details for this body.
okay.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. I know that I had conversations with Debbie Smith and she wanted to eliminate those and she didn't get the chance, and it looks like someone's carrying that for her, but because she saw abuse, I think, and felt there was abuse, and I want to stand on that to make sure that, you know, our local governments and our school districts, our local governments are not going to have that siphoning continued. Thank you.
Thanks. And thanks for bringing that up. And I look forward to getting more information. So thank you, Councilwoman Breckus. Anyone else? Other questions? Well, I think we'll move on. Kelly, thank you so much. Keep up the good work, as I always tell you. And you are. And we just love it. So appreciate you, and we'll see you soon.
Sounds great. Have a good rest of your meeting.
Thank you. Madam Clerk?
Yes, Madam Vice Mayor, you can take him out. We will transition to item E1. This is an ordinance introduction to be read by, no, it is not. We have moved this item off of our agenda. We will go to item F1, which is ordinance adoption, and this will be read by the city attorney.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. This is ordinance adoption, ordinance number 6593, case number LDC 21-00042, Westcourt Hobby Condo Zone Change. Ordinance to amend Title 18, Chapter 18.02 of the Reno Municipal Code entitled Zoning, Rezoning, a plus or minus 30.24 acre subject site comprised of 3 parcels from mixed use suburban to mixed employment. The subject site is located west of US 395 and south of the terminus of West Court. The site has a master plan land use designation of mixed employment, Ward 4.
Move to adopt.
Thank you. I'll second the motion. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? The motion carries unanimously.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. Item F2, ordinance adoption to be read by the city attorney.
Ordinance adoption, ordinance number 6594, ordinance to amend Title 2, Chapter 2.10, Article 2 of the Reno Municipal Code titled Fiscal Control, Section 2.10.040, titled Monthly Reports, to change the monthly financial reporting to the Reno City Council to occur quarterly within 60 days subsequent to the quarter end, together with other matters properly relating thereto.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Thank you. There's a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 I'm opposed.
Opposed? And council, so the motion carries with 1 member voting no.
All right, thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. With that, transitioning to mini board and commission appointments, we will start. The first one is with the Airport Authority. The mayor is the liaison to this board.
Hi, Madam Clerk. I am here. I just wanted to make the motion to reappoint Richard J.
Second.
That's great. All those in, is there any other discussion? Councilwoman Breckus?
No, well.
Oh, you're
there's
voting
2
yes.
appointments. Yeah, I'm 2 appointments. Okay, so.
Okay. So there is a motion and a second to appoint Richard J. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The motion
And
carries.
Clerk, sorry, Vice Mayor. Madam Clerk, just to clarify, you will bring another appointment back on the next agenda.
That is correct, Madam Mayor. As council is aware, we have transitioned a lot of our boards and commissions in order to be transparent and keep up with our internal deadlines. Therefore, we did receive additional applications after the cutoff for applications, so we will be bringing this back on June 2nd for your second appointment. So thank you for clarifying and asking.
Thank you. I saw your notes, so I appreciate you staying on top of it. Okay, thanks so much. Back at you, Vice Mayor.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, next item.
Madam Vice Mayor, next item is item G12. This is appointment to the Financial Advisory Board. Councilman Reese is the liaison to this board.
Move to appoint Josh Rennie.
Thank you. There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second. Doer.
Second. Thank you. Any other discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The motion carries unanimously.
Next item, G13, appointment to the Building Enterprise Fund Committee. This is Councilmember Dewar's appointment.
I would like to move to appoint Rob Smith.
Second.
There's a motion from Rob Smith. Just one appointment today?
Today.
Okay, thank you. So there's a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? The motion carries unanimously.
Item G14, this is an appointment or reappointment of one person to the Historical Resources Commission. Councilmember Breckus is the liaison.
Yes, I'd like to,
Breckus.
thank you. I'd like to reappoint Miss Deborah Hinman.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? The motion carries unanimously.
Thank you. Item G15, appointment to the Senior Citizen Advisory Committee. Councilmember Jordan is the liaison.
Thank
you very
you.
much. I would make a motion to appoint or reappoint Stan Dowdy, Paco LaChoy, Alan Setterquist, and Doris May Weber, as well as bring back on June the 2nd, additional applications that came in after the deadline.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries unanimously.
Thank you. Item G16, appointment to the Urban Forestry Commission. Councilmember Dewar is the liaison.
Yep. And I would like to move to approve today Jason Ludden, who's a reappointment, and Ed Hawkins, who served once upon a time, very long ago.
Yes. Okay, and is there, okay, there's a motion and a second. All those, any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries unanimously. Thank
And
you.
then, of course, I will have some more appointments too on the June 2nd here.
Okay, great.
All right. Item G17, appointment to the Ward 2 Neighborhood Advisory Board. This is Councilmember
Yeah.
Dewar.
Yeah, today I'd like to appoint Jack Heineman and Hal Taylor. And I'd like to also bring this back again on June 2nd, because I know several other people have applied.
Thank you.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? The motion carries unanimously.
All right. With that, item H1, this is updates from boards and commissions from council.
Madam Clerk, before we go there, should we hear from Mr. Thornley about the other item that we were going to possibly have discussion on? I don't remember what it was.
I'm happy to explain what's going on there with that cabaret license. So there's a special use permit that exists on the property that has existed on the property since 2004. And that special use permit allows for hours of operation of the business until 4 in the morning. The specific question as it relates to live entertainment is controlled by the more specific cabaret license that authorizes the operation of this specific business. Our new zoning code allows for day entertainment until 9 o'clock in the evening. If this proprietor is interested in having amplified or live entertainment past 9 in the evening, the proprietor would have to apply for and be granted a minor conditional use permit under the existing zoning code.
You know, I really, this is going to get reflected in the minutes. And so that's a problem for me in not opening it up. And also understanding if the applicant understands. And then also with the specifics of the zoning district, I guess it's understood then that the 2004 special use permit is not applicable related to cabaret operations.
That's
Does
correct.
not override, does not give them a conformant. And the zoning district that they're in, which is the MDRD, dropped in new hours of operation for day use.
So it's day entertainment. There are two categories of entertainment that are contemplated in the new zoning code. One is day entertainment, and it allows entertainment from 9 to 9. And if you wanted to go later than 9 o'clock in the evening, you have to apply for a minor conditional use permit.
Were these people advised of this?
I'm informed that they are aware of this requirement, yes.
So they know that they have to come through for a minor conditional, is that administrative?
I would need to pull up the minor conditional, or we can move over Mr. Stockham or Ms. Foos.
I'd just like to reopen this.
Yes, excuse me. I think we probably do need to do that.
If
Am I
we're gonna,
correct?
yes, if we're gonna go into further discussion on this, then my recommendation from record keeping standpoint, and I can let legal jump in, is I would be asking for a motion to reconsider the consent agenda. And then as a reminder, that was everything that was not pulled. So we can wait and then take a motion on this, or we can just do one for the rest of it remaining on that. So I would be looking for a motion to reconsider at this time.
I'd like to move to reconsider the consent agenda.
Okay, second.
There a second? Okay, there's a motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
Can we
Okay,
roll
so
call this?
yeah, we might have to go back and do that. So
Would you like a
Madam
roll
Clerk,
call vote, Madam Vice Mayor?
yes.
All right, roll call vote for reconsideration of the consent agenda items in which were not pulled. Breckus,
Aye.
Dewar,
Aye.
Delgado,
Aye.
Weber,
Nay.
Jordan,
Aye.
Reese,
Nay.
and Madam Mayor is absent at this time. The motion does carry 4-2. So we will now open item B1A2 so you can have proper discussion on this. And then once that is handled, we will proceed and I will advise you on how to proceed with the motion.
Thank you. Okay, go ahead.
Yes, this is in Ward 1. It is a property that I think as a result of the pandemic became vacated. It's to reopen it. It's a property that has a special use permit that is the previous operator, which I think was just one operator, had that special use permit from 2004 to 2020. So 16 years of operation. And I had some questions. I asked those of the manager, and the special use permit wasn't attached to the packet, and I didn't see it until later on today. It didn't come through my inbox. So I have some questions for staff. First of all, the special use permit from 2004 still runs with this property and this owner and this operation, correct?
Yes.
Okay, but it does not pertain to the cabaret license. The cabaret operations that they're requesting and getting this privilege license to do not have any, is not dictated by that special use permit. Is that correct?
That's correct. Arlo Stockham, Community Development Director for the record. Yes, the bar was previously approved. The cabaret is new. Our code requires for operations extending beyond 9 p.m. a minor conditional use permit, which has not been submitted. That's a discretionary review process. It's a 30-day staff process, but there's public notification and rights of appeal to ultimately go to council should that application be applied for.
Now, okay. And staff has the discretion to operate that up to how many hours? 24 hours then on entertainment?
It would be determined through that process, but any hours of operation beyond 9 p.m. requires that. And presumably there would be a condition of approval setting the allowed hours and any operating restrictions as part of that process.
Okay, this is a real new standard. I'm glad we're daylighting it. And it's consistent to this is the MDRD district. What does the MDRD zoning district refer to?
The mixed use downtown riverfront district.
Okay. And this is specific to that riverfront district then, or the?
It's actually a generally applicable requirement. We have a daytime entertainment use, which is generally allowed by right with certain limitations. And then citywide for live entertainment to extend beyond those hours requires this type of discretionary review process.
And then question to you is, if it goes through this administrative proceeding, does the cabaret then have to come back to marry up with that? Because this approval goes to those standard. So I would presume that it would have to be reissued by this body then, correct?
Yes, I'd share the same interpretation because the license that was approved earlier limited cabaret operations to 9 p.m.
Okay, so they understand that and they're making their decisions whether or not they're going to make an application for that.
Yeah. Angela, please jump in if you have more. To my knowledge, they have not applied or kind of pushed the issue, but.
Okay. That's correct. And we did have a conversation with the applicant and they're aware that they do need to have the minor conditional use permit to extend those hours.
And it'll be noticed so anyone can, provide comment on that. I appreciate this. I wanted this all on the record. It's very new from how it was operating before. I appreciate my colleagues for giving me the opportunity. I think it was a slip up between myself and the manager on our review of the agenda, but I'm very heightened in awareness by this because a good thing's going on, and that's infill development. And we have an apartment complex of about 20 units being built right across the street that will probably go into occupancy, this summer, maybe. And I think we need clarity on what is and was not going to be around, because I've been representing this area for a long time, and it's great, but you got to look block by block when you get bars and bedrooms in this close proximity. So thank you, everyone. I'll move to approve. If there aren't any other questions, I'll move to approve the consent agenda again.
Okay.
Thank you. There's a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That, Madam Vice Mayor and Council, moving on to general closing public comment. Items in this section are items that are received after 4 p.m. on the business day preceding our meeting. Should be noted that we received public comment from Don and Kai Veltman Howard, Sandra Quiros, Morgan Trieger, Vince Griffith, Britton Griffith on behalf of the Riverwalk Merchant Association, and Jamie Kashmiri. Additionally, we do have voicemails that we will listen to at this time.
This issue is concerning the FAA. I've lived in this sector for 40 years. I've lived here for 24 years, and 5 years, the rest of the time was 5 blocks east. It concerns light aircraft flying in and out of the emergency runway, runway 77 at the Reno City Airport. In 1980, when they were using it, I called the Reno Airport Authority and I said, why are you flying out aircraft? This is for emergency only. And from 1980 to 2002, there were no aircraft landing or taking off there. Then in 2002, apparently the FAA took over and without vote from the citizenry have been flying all kinds of light aircraft in and out of runway 77, and I want it stopped. Not any time on any ballot was there anything about allowing this to happen. We did not vote on it. The FAA just took over. They've been encroaching for years and years, and now they're flying C-130s over my home, and my fine china is constantly having to be moved back in the credenza, and this is not okay. The loudness of the planes, I don't care if they're 400 yards above us or not, it is noise and noise abatement. And all last year I tried to get a hold of the FAA for noise abatement. They never answered me. I tried to work through Reno Direct. I was coming to City Hall, but then the virus came. And so the bottom line is I have petitioned for noise abatement in my sector for many years now, and I want it to continue to be looked at and stopped by the Reno City Council. My name's Catherine Andriata. I live at 1000 Beck Street. I look at the southern exposure on the 3rd floor, and they fly. The FAA knows where I live, and they fly all planes over, helicopters, everything over my home. This is not okay. I want it looked at from the City Council's view. I want to present it, and I will petition. I did ask the FAA. I asked the FAA how many signatures it would take, because I have done that in the past. I want to do it now, and I want the city to let me know how this was allowed to happen when they're using the emergency.
Hi, this is Diaz Dixon with Eddie House, and I just wanted to call in and say thank you so much, particularly to Councilman Reese and Councilman Delgado for the $3,000 that are supporting our program and our youth who are experiencing homelessness. In this last year, we were able to provide 6,172 bed nights to individuals in need. And as you are well aware, there was not anyone providing these type of services until January of 2020, where we dove in not knowing COVID was right around the corner. But through the wonderful support of our community and partners stepping up and helping us out, we are happy to say that the heavy majority, we've got over 80% of our participants that are currently working full-time. A number of individuals have graduated from the program and are living sustainable lifestyles. We couldn't do it without this type of support. Our goal is to keep reaching and keep stretching ourselves so that we can start doing some prevention work. We've started our outreach program, so we're actually getting out into the streets and meeting them where they're at and figuring out ways to be more efficient and effective in the delivery of these services. So thank you for your support. Thank you for paying attention to what we're doing, and thank you for meeting the needs of so many different organizations that are out there just trying to do the good work. You guys be well.
Hi, I live on Keystone between 1st and 2nd, and just this last week, a friend of mine was hit while being parked in front of my house rather violently, and his truck was totaled by a little old lady. I am leaving a comment because I would like to request something be done between the highway and the river on Keystone. I think that the street either needs traffic calming like the top of Keystone has, or we should be putting in bike lanes so that people feel like they can park on Keystone without the fear of getting hit or worse, totaled by just parking in a parking spot. This is a very treacherous area as people decide to go extremely fast right here. And being as the city just paid millions of dollars to have the Riverwalk expanded and beautified, it would make sense to have a bike lane or some alternate form of transportation to have access to that beautiful Riverwalk that we all want to be accessing now that it's great weather. This is Elizabeth Bree Casper. I live on Keystone between 1st and 2nd, and I would like to discuss this at further length. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, Reno City Council. My name is Kai Plascon. I'm the president of the Truckee Meadows Bicycle Alliance. Happy Bike Month. Thank you for approving and moving forward with the Center Street Cycle Track. Separated paths like this are the safest way to move students, tourists, and families quickly from Midtown through downtown and to and from the university. It's going to reduce traffic, save lives, and boost the economy. I'm happy to talk to you more about this if you'd like to get a hold of me. Please provide an update regarding the status of this Center Street Cycle Track project. We'd love to hear where you're at with this project. Thank you very much, and again, happy Bike Month.
Hello, my name is Mike Van Houten, and I run the Downtown Makeover site downtown, and I wanted to express my support and request a status update on the Center Street Cycle Track project. Separated paths like this are popular down in San Jose and LA and other downtown areas that I've visited, and it's the safest way to move students, tourists, and families back and forth between Midtown, downtown, and the university. I heard a little rumor that certain entities downtown would like to spend this money elsewhere, and I am just making this comment to support the project for the cycle track, and I hope it still moves forward and if the public can get an update on it. Thank you.
Hello, Reno City Council. My name is Susheen Chen. Happy Bike Month. Happy May. Thank you for approving and moving forward with the Center Street cycle track. I see on the RTC website that the preliminary plans are due in summer 2021, and I'm excited to see them. Separated paths like this are the safest way to move students, tourists, and families quickly from Midtown through downtown and to and from the university. I know that I ride with either a kid on a tag-along or a kid on a trailer or an e-bike with 2 kids on the back, so safety is super important to us and our family. It will reduce traffic, save lives, and boost the economy. Please provide an update regarding the Center Street cycle track project and let us know how we can support this project going forward. I'm so excited to have a safe way to take my kids up and down that Center Street corridor. Thank you.
All right, Madam Vice Mayor, with that, we have no further general closing public comment at this time, and we will be looking to council for adjournment.
So moved.
Oh, I was gonna just say, before we did that, I don't know if we could have an update, and I know that we just went through that and we've done public comments, so I don't know if I can ask, but I wish we could have the restatement of what is happening on the 17th with the Nevada Cares campus.
Sure. On the 17th, it is opening to the general public. That will include men, women, couples. Some of those populations, particularly women and couples, will be limited in capacity in this first iteration, but space will be available. And also there will be limited capacity for pets, but there will be some, and it will be open to the general public.
Okay.
Question, will the tent camping be open anytime soon?
I believe tent camping is delayed by a couple of weeks. I do need to speak with the county later today about that, but it is on track to open in relatively close temporal proximity to the general opening of the dormitory.
Thank you.
And is there any event? Is there still going to be an event, or is it just going to be, they'll just start doing that?
There will be a ribbon cutting to which the governor has been invited and will arrive, and that invitation will be out to all of you and other leaders in the community in relatively short order.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, I have a motion, I believe, by Councilwoman Doer, a second by Councilwoman Jardin, and to adjourn. So with that, is there, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Thank you so much. We're adjourned.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Yay, we're off early.